Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast all about beer and games. I'm Ben. I'm here with Lucy.
Hello.
And Aadil.
Boy.
And this week, it's a super special end of year episode where we're going to run down our favourite games.
I have to stop you there. It definitely sounded like you said soup special and not super special, and I was like, shit.
That's it. No beer this week. Favourite soups.
Fuck. I mean, I can give you favorite soups, but I thought, in Tanked Up fashion, if we had a soup special, we should have to have 3 bowls in front of us.
That's probably what we'd have to do. Yeah. Taste them as we went. Lucy.
Yes.
You'll probably do well with some soup at the moment because you're not feeling very well.
Yeah, I had soup earlier. And
Okay.
Oh, what kind of soup?
just chicken soup.
Is it one of your top soups?
Yes, it's my nan's soup, and it is.
Oh, wow.
basically
Yeah, I
the
bet.
top
Yeah.
soup. It's the
Nan's
only.
chicken soup.
Does it
That's
have
good.
noodles in it, or is it just chicken soup?
No, it's got dumplings and sweet potato in it.
Ooh.
That shit's
That sounds
fancy.
good.
Yeah,
Can you send
it is
soup in the
very good.
post?
I mean,
You can send beer in the post,
you
right?
can, but it might be logistically a bit tricky.
I mean, you can send canned soup.
Sure,
It's
yeah.
not quite the same, though, is it?
No.
Oh my god, this cat.
Unless your nan's, opens a cannery, starts canning her soup on an industrial scale, then we'll be fine. Everyone can try it.
And then I'd just become that person out of What Remains of Edith Finch. Just
That's
end
it.
it all. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Was that a game from this year? No, that was last year, definitely, wasn't it?
I
Right.
think we actually talked about it in...
I think we probably did.
Yeah.
Yes. So, we're going to talk about our favourite games from this year. We're also going to be drinking some excellent beers, apart from Lucy, because she's not feeling very well. Aadil, would you like to start on what you're drinking?
Sure. I'm drinking... What am I drinking? I'm drinking from Marble, the Side Control India Pale Lager at 5.3%. It has no real thingy flavor text.
The thingy
Off to a
thing.
good start.
Nice.
Oh, fuck me. It also apparently hasn't settled since my walk home from the bottle shop, so give me a sec.
It happens. You let it settle. You let it sort of pour away. I'll give a quick rundown of what I'm going to be drinking. So I picked up, and Lucy, I know you picked this up as well, with the intention of having it this evening as well.
What, do you have to guilt her on air?
So she goes, I'll just have one. I'll just have
You
one.
could have just said, I know, Lucy, you have this maybe one day in the future. You could tell us your thoughts on them. And then
She
you're
will
like,
do.
no,
She
you're
will.
letting us down, Lucy. You're letting us down. You're just having water.
No.
Crack the fridge open,
I'm
Lucy.
sorry, no.
They're calling you.
And you're not even drinking
sorry.
water from the requisite container.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
tanked
that's
up blessed water container.
So, I am drinking the Northern Monk Brewing Company Trilogy. So it's the 2018 version, where they showcase with collaborators a malt build, a yeast build, and a hops build. And I'm going to start with the malt first because it is the lowest ABV at 4.5%.
Did you say 4.5?
4.5.
I heard 4.5. I'm like
4.5%.
Yeah.
It's with this one. So this one's brewed with Whiplash. I think the flavour text at the start of the can is the same on all of them. Yeah, it is. So I'll just bang this one. It might be the whole way through, actually. Yeah, I'll just bang out on this one then. So our annual Trilogy series is designed to showcase the 3 core elements that shape every beer you drink. From across the world, some of the true masters of these ingredients have come to join us at the Old Flax store to pay homage to hops, yeast and malt. Each year we add a theme to the Trilogy, whether it's geographical, the use of fruit or barrel aging. This family of beers will have common elements built into their DNA. In the 3rd year of our Trilogy, that DNA is IPA. So they're all IPAs of a certain type. This one is a Brut IPA. So say it's 4.5%. It's 1.034 OG. It's 5 EBCs. It's 15 IBUs. And the hops are Denali, Vic Secret, Chinook, Mosaic, and Columbus.
What's that second one?
Sorry?
Vixie.
Vic Secret.
Huh, I'm not familiar with that hop.
I've had it in a few beers. It's, as a malt beer, it's something showcasing the malt. It doesn't tell me what those malts are. Malted barley, wheat. Oh, no, it does. Sorry. Sorry, this must be all of those ones. I thought it might have been a bit more generic. No, it's not. Definitely not. It does tell me malted barley, wheat, oats, and spelt. It's also got
spelt.
hops, which it's got in it, and it doesn't tell me the yeast. So maybe on the yeast build that will tell me, but who knows? We'll get to that one later. I shall pour. Now I've just ripped everybody's ears off with my long chat about this one beer. Aadil, how is your beer? Have you poured it?
I have poured it. The pour was fine. It was just the initial crack of the can. It's lager-esque. It's a little hazier than the average lager. It's got about the right level of bubbles, ambery gold color. It's got a nice sweet to the aroma. Slightly citrusy as well.
Yeah. Like a lemony sort of citrusy, or
a little bit, and definitely
orangey.
lemon on the taste as well. It's 5.3%. It's really inoffensive. It's sort of does that thing that I struggle to understand why Indian pale lagers are a thing, because I associate IPAs so much with the finish.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't have that. It's a little wet on the mouth in the finish. It's tasty. It's got some nice citrus notes. Not a lot of malt going on. Like I said, it's got that slightly wet finish. Mouthfeel is a little more velvety than your average lager, so it has sort of some staying power and some like coating. I don't know if I have much else to say.
Okay.
Now that I've said it has a wet mouthfeel, the bitterness does dry out the top of my mouth, but my tongue is wet.
We won't stick too long on beer, so we've got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
But just as a quick sort of finish, you had the indie lager from 4 Pure last week.
Yes.
Was that an IPL or was it just a lager?
It was. Oof. Eesh.
I think that was just a lager, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Clearing my throat while not typing.
There's no noises going on in the background at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
The indie lager is not an IPA. It's just
okay.
Fine. It's a pilsner style lager as well.
Sure. Okay.
I think. Or maybe that's their Pils lager. Oh, Google, you failed me again. It's just like they call it just like a German style lager.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So, I mean, if I had to call back to last week, I would say that this feels much more like an ale and a craft ale in the sense of it's non-standard lager things. If I recall correctly, that one I lauded because it did lager really well with a nuance, and this mostly doesn't taste like a lager. It just has the lightness and the lack of finish of one.
Okay. So it's just lightened up IPA slightly then.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
How's your multi-malt?
So the Malt, the Brut IPA, you don't get a huge amount on the nose. It's quite a light nose. You get a slight sense of that sort of slightly champagne-y, vinous-esque kind of quality. Not much at all. But as soon as you taste it, that kind of hits you. It's not a big flavour, but that hits you instantly. That's the first thing you get. And it mellows into this very piney, slightly earthy IPA. And the two kind of work quite well together. There's almost sort of, there's no like sweetness to this at all. There's almost, well, there is sort of no kind of bitterness. There's no lasting bitterness to this at all. But it's very, very quick. And you have that brute, that kind of champagne-y sort of dryness instantly. This piney kind of hit, and then it's gone. And I've got this massive dryness in my mouth. But the flavour isn't sticking around much at all.
Well, that's what brute IPAs are meant to do, isn't it? Just that hard finish,
So you suspect it'll go quickly?
Sorry, say it again.
You suspect it'll go quickly?
I think so. Even just sipping 10 seconds ago, I've got this very slight kind of salivation at the back of my tongue, but everything else is kind of gone already. So I'm kind of thinking already, I'll just reach for this. probably a good job that it's, you know, as dry as it is, that it is 4.5%. Otherwise, I think there'll be some serious trouble when we get to about game number 6.
I mean, I'm 3 beers in with like a 2-hour break. Not a lot of food. We'll see how tenuous it gets after beer number 1.
Hey, wouldn't be an end of year show if at least
something didn't go off the rails. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So let's jump into our games, our top games of the year. I assume, like last year, or at least I've got some honourable mentions. But Lucy, I want to come to you first because you haven't had a beer to be able to kind of get some time with. So I thought I'd jump to you first for your honourable mentions.
Yep, I'm just literally going to run down the list that I have on Excel here.
Hundreds of honourable mentions.
There's about, what's that, 20 or something? Okay.
Jesus.
I'm not going to spend any time. I'm just going to read the name of the game.
I've got a couple, but I don't have 20.
Yeah. These are just games that I've enjoyed this year.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll read. I mean, any of these could have made my top 10 probably. My top 10 is like, it's just games like that. Apart from my top 5, like the rest is just like, I really enjoyed these games.
Yeah,
whatever.
that's fair.
Yeah. So here we go. Rusty Lake Paradise, Bring You Home, The Room, Old Sins, Kukel, Shadow of Colossus, Shift Quantum, Homo Machina, Yoku's Island Express, Bomb Chicken, Semblance, Gunscore and Cannoli 2, Owlboy. Did that come out this year? I think it came out on Switch this year.
Yeah,
Probably came out on PC maybe 2 years ago, I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe.
Flipping Death, Guacamelee 2, Donut County, The Messenger, The Gardens Between, G30, ELO, Unravel 2, The Red Strings Club, Octahedron, Cube 2, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and the one with the longest title, The Missing, JJ McField and the Island of Never, the sweary game.
The sweary game.
You said The Room. The Room was this?
It was, I think it's the 4th in the series. Because there's Room 1, 2, 3, and the Old Sins.
Yeah.
So yes, the 4th in the series. That was a really good game.
I haven't caught up. I sort of stopped at 2, and I didn't actually know 4 came out, or if I did, I forgot.
Yeah, but it probably didn't come out on Android till later, so I imagine, which is always the case. But
I think we might have. I think we've mentioned it, but it might have been more in conjunction with. Yeah, we were talking about like The Room as a whole almost. I don't think we specifically spoke about was it Old Sins?
Yeah, I can't remember if I did.
I remember we talked about when I talked about playing The Room and starting 2. We talked about 1, 2, and 3, but I don't think 4 was out when we had that episode. But I could be wrong. Doesn't matter. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Super interesting that Shadow of the Tomb Raider is on your honourable mentions.
Yeah, I mean, I really I started it. I started it when it came out. I played the prologue, and I was like, you know what? I know that I'm going to come back to this, and it'll be easy to come back to because I love those games. But I had other things that I wanted to play like before, like the biggie, Red Dead came out. So I was like, I'll come back to it, and started it this week. Well, picked it up again this week, and just played it non-stop. I played it for like 12 hours straight. For one day.
Nice.
Those games are great. It's not as good as Rise, and that's probably why I put it on the honourable mentions.
Right. Because you really liked Son of Rome.
I did actually like that game. But Rise of Tomb Raider was my favourite game of 2015. Yeah.
Jeez. I suppose it was 2 years ago. I always think of it as as much sooner than that. Because it came out on PlayStation sort of a lot, the year later. But it must have come out that long ago.
Yeah, and I'm a bit gutted that they're putting the series on hold because these are just it's just like comfort food. I could just play these games every 3 years and just get so much enjoyment out of it. Those games are cool.
I mean, you have to at least laud them that they are aware of Assassin's Creed syndrome at the 3-year period, where Assassin's Creed doesn't understand it at the 1-year period.
Yeah, and it'll be great when you get to play Lara again in 5-10 years. Who knows? God.
Yeah, I wonder whether it'll be another franchise reboot, or whether they'll kind of try and keep this character and maybe just shift her on a few years. Perhaps.
I think they'll reboot her again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with because she's gotten more agency and persona.
Yeah, I mean, the stories. I don't care about the story. I don't play those
Yeah.
games for the story. Like,
What about the
It's
Raiden
kinda-
Tombs?
oh yeah,
I mean-
it's a perfect blend of like, especially Rise of like exploration, like solving puzzles
Mm.
and combat and traversal. It's like it just hits those notes so perfectly that yeah, it's a shame that we're not going to be seeing any more of these games anytime
Yeah,
soon. But yeah, I don't know. I think people have criticisms about this game, but it's like, what do you expect it's going to be like? It's not as good as Rise, but I think Eidos Montreal did a pretty good job of like making it like the other Crystal Dynamics one. So
Yeah, I really liked the Crystal Dynamics reboot. It
Really
felt
good.
really true to form for Lara, and this reboot was like, what if we weren't true to form to Lara? What could we do? And so that's why I'm kind of excited about another reboot, because like the actual reboot cycles for this particular series have been
Yeah.
fruitful.
yeah,
And like Crystal Dynamics, by the end, like they had what, 4, I think, or was it 3? But by the end, it was kind of like you've sort of lost your way. They had a pause, then they came out with this series, and it was like, oh, someone's figured this out. So given that you're like Rise was the peak, it seems reasonable to take a break, even though this game's good.
yeah. I just found it hilarious how they worked into the narrative that everybody speaks English in like this hidden city in the middle of Peru, and Lara does just goes and just desecrates everything.
Same universe as Star Trek, isn't it? Just galactic
Yeah.
translators everywhere.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Yes, she was like literally tearing down murals of Jesus at the end. It was just hilarious.
that's great.
Like,
I'm
he's like, I don't care. She just doesn't care.
So you're saying it's a good Christmas game?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 on the nose for Easter, though.
Possibly. Depends if you roll a boulder back over the tomb or not, I suppose, doesn't it?
It should be Game of the Year because you can pet llamas.
Oh, wow.
And there's also an achievement when you first cover yourself in mud and start killing people. That's first. The achievement's called First Blood. And I was like,
Oh, that's
they
pretty
know,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
Was there not an achievement for petting the llama called Llama Croft?
Oh yeah, you did. No, it's
I don't care. If it's not called Llama Croft.
That would have been pretty good.
Fucking asshole.
No,
Come on
I think
now,
it's called.
right there.
I think the achievement for petting, I think it was 5 llamas, was Koloseyama, and I was like, yeah,
Nah.
that's pretty good. Game of the year. Scrap the list. That's tough.
Done. Aadil, how about you, man? What about your honourable mentions? You said you had a couple.
Yeah, what do I got here? I have Elo, you said. Elo's on my honorable mentions. Liked it a lot. Didn't finish it, so the grippiness of the puzzles was what kept it lower on the list for me. And I think that's just because, I mean, I don't think it's anything against the game. It just, whatever. And then I have to give a shout out to Coup, the board game, because I played a fuck ton of it this year, probably more than any specific video game. So it's my honorable board game mention.
Oh, that's good. Why not?
Yeah, it's really good. Fuck it, I'll throw code names in there as well. Might as well. And then my other honorable mention is Mario Kart 8.
Okay.
Deluxe. Okay.
I enjoyed the very few moments I played with it.
Is that a this year game?
I
Is
got
it-
it
is
this
it-
year.
That game's like 5 years old.
Yeah, no.
It's a port, right? So they
The
ported
Switch
it
port,
to the
I
Switch
think,
this
might
year.
have come out in November
It
or
came
whatever, but I didn't
No,
get
it came
that.
out last year.
Did
Did it?
Yeah,
it
last
was like
November.
the first. No, it was literally
it?
like one of the
Oh, that's
first.
right, yeah,
It was
yeah.
like a launch, like
Right.
a month after launch.
Yeah, but I didn't get it until March, and I played with
That's
a
fine.
handful of friends.
No,
It's
yeah.
an honorable mention because it did Mario Kart the way Mario Kart wanted, like Mario Kart to do.
Nice. Good.
Oh, and then Jackbox Party 5.
Yeah.
5.
I think it's 5.
Hell.
Yeah,
What games have they got in there now?
What?
What games are in Jackbox Party Pack 5?
Is Drawful in 4 or 5? I think Drawful's in there. Where it puts 2 of the players against each other to draw something, and then you vote on that, and then the next pair have to improve on that drawing, and you
Okay.
vote on that, and so you communally make a picture.
Yes.
And then the last round is giving a title for the drawing. You vote on that, and whoever has
Nice.
had the most votes and points, etc.
Lots of cocks.
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
time.
It also had, I think it has a version of Whiplash and everything. I think there's also a rap battle one in Jackbox Party 5
Oh,
with robots.
okay.
So I think one is a bunch of trivia, 2 and 3 are like the Quiplash sort of things, and then 3 was reasonable, but 4 and 5 brought really interesting new games, and 5 I thought was like, holy shit. So if you haven't played Jackbox Party 5, Polygon has some streams of that, and you can just look it up, you'll find it, and those games are really quite fun with people.
They're really good. Great party games.
Yeah.
Nice.
So easy and accessible.
Yeah, so those are my honorable mentions.
Nice. I'm going to be repeating a couple, I think, Lucy, that you've said. I don't quite have as many. I've got 5, but my list, it really is kind of more like a top 15, because they've all kind of moved in and out so many times, just based on kind of how I'm feeling with proximity to each of the games and stuff. So even these 5 could have made my top 10, if we'd have recorded tomorrow or next week or last week, at some other time. So the first one is Shadow of the Colossus, which you mentioned, Lucy.
This is the remaster, yeah?
The remaster, yes.
So good.
It is fantastic. Donut County as well.
Oh, I forgot about Donut County.
Yeah.
I will put that as an honourable mention as well. That's 2 honourable mentions to Donut County.
Oh, 3.
That's 3. Lucy mentioned that.
Oh,
Yeah, triple whammy.
I totally
Ultimate honourable mention to
Voted
Donut
as
County.
Best game on the App Store by Apple.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Mm.
Congratulations.
The other 3 are Far Lone Sales.
Simon played.
Ben, you
Just-
just
Mate,
throwing
I'm telling
everything
you,
out now.
They could have been.
Because I thought that would be in your top,
No,
so
no,
I have to say
Lucy,
Far
stop
Lone.
objecting. Part of the top 10 is us learning each other's top 10.
Yeah,
And
that
then
is
being
very
angry.
true.
But you have to be angry.
Because I had
What-
Ben.
Like, how dare you?
It's like, Ben, these 3 are going to be on your list, right? And he says yes, and I'm like, okay. I won't mention
This is
them.
like a week ago.
I know. But
also-
I'm counting on you.
They are on his list.
But they are, but I thought you'd. Because Far
They'd
Lone
be a
Sales,
bit
yes,
higher,
okay.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely on my honourable mentions
Yeah.
as well. Because
And
fantastic.
I don't know whether these 2 feature in your top 10, Lucy, but if they do, we'll kind of breeze over them now. But the first one is, I can never remember the full title, but Captain Spirit, The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit.
I didn't get round to that.
I installed it.
Oh, it's
Yes,
very
I got
good.
that
It
far.
is very good.
Yeah.
And the other one is Genital Jousting.
Oh, solid.
That's
We'll
all
talk
right.
about that later. We can talk about that.
That's all right.
We'll come to it later.
When Lucy... Oh, yeah, we'll come to it later.
Yeah.
Cool, so we're done. This was the honorable mentions episode. You can catch it next week for the top 10.
Harsh. Got so much beer to drink. Slow down, sir. Okay. So, drum rolls for all of our top 10s. But
Oh, which order are we going in? Are we going to go in cyclical order every time?
I think
I think if someone has a game and it's on somebody else's list, if it's higher on somebody else's list, I think we
don't
should
talk
just
about it.
we skirt over until that person
Okay.
reaches that. Yeah.
So
but
the
surely that
starting
just that kind of like shows what's going to be coming on your list.
I was going to say, so unless you're watching the video, you won't hear this. And this is the move for there's a skirt.
No, I'm just saying if
So
if what is number 6 is for me Ben's number 1, I'll just say this, and then we can talk about it as Ben's number 1.
Yeah, I'm just saying in order to
Yeah.
instead of saying this was my or whatever, we'll just do these move along / skirt motion.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's
Secret
fine. So, Lucy, we'll come back
Yes.
to you first then. So, number 10, or
Yeah.
the first one on your
Yeah,
list.
I just shoved Grease on there right at
Yeah.
the end because it's.
Because you love John Travolta.
I do. How could anybody not?
Circa Broken Arrow, John Travolta?
I don't think I've seen that one.
I mean, this is like before he really got rebooted as an action.
You make him sounding like a robot.
He is. This is pre-Face Off, John Travolta.
Yeah.
This is the action movie with Christian Slater that made no waves.
Oh.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Greece.
I think that might be on my list next year because I haven't got around to it, and I suspect I'll really enjoy it.
I think you absolutely will. The art's beautiful, the music's beautiful. You know, everything about that game is so evocative, and you know, a little shed a little tear at the end. It's like I don't even know what any of this means, but it's just beautiful.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it's like it really is a labour of love by that team. You can tell, and like just everything's so intricately designed in terms of like, you know, the backgrounds, the foregrounds, the environments, the way the character moves, the animation. It's just, it's spectacular, and it's probably one of those which probably would have served better if I had more time to think about it, and might have been higher up on the list. But I think I'd just be remiss not to, you know, definitely say that that's one of the best games that have come out this year.
Nice. I'm going to jump to me because my number 10 is also a game which made me shed a tear, which is Behind Every Great One, which was the little game from Deconstruct Team, where you are a housewife to an artist, and you essentially just undertake chores. And
by that you mean bury people?
No, definitely not.
Usually what housewives do.
But what else kind of chores do you undertake?
Do you not understand?
Yes. So, you basically have to try and balance your chores and a little bit of downtime, and your life gets more complex as the days go on, and you just start to kind of unravel a little bit, and it's just a very short but very
poignant
experience, definitely. And I was kind of, I suppose when I played it, I was very much doing all of the housework, all of the jobs and stuff, and I'm like, this is me. You know, obviously not living with an artist as such, but living with someone that works full time and stuff, and I'm like, this is, even from working from home, you know, I balance that with doing the housework and a little bit of kind of gaming and stuff. So I'm just thinking like, yeah, fuck, I can like totally get behind this, and it's so sort of, you know, there's other games that I could properly, you know, get behind this year and understand kind of where the characters are coming from, the situations that they're in. But this one kind of did it in a way where the art style was kind of quite pared back, but gave you some very good kind of visual representations of how the character was feeling and stuff.
Really good little game. Yeah. And it's free on itch.io, so everyone should download it.
Exactly, as are most of Deconstruct Team's games, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think it's only Red Strings Club.
And Gods Will Be Watching. Several years ago. Yeah, those are their two quote-unquote premium games. The rest, they just play at little experiences. They, you know, make for game jams and stuff like that. So, you know, it's great that, you know, something so, you know, little tiny experience that you can get for free has, you know, such an impact on you. And you find all those kinds of games on itch.io, wherever you go. So, yeah, really good.
Yes. Aadil, we'll come to you. Your number 10, sir.
My number 10 is, I just noticed that I don't know how to count, so I'm making sure that I haven't accidentally made an honourable mention.
Doesn't matter if you have, it'll be fine.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool. Yeah. So I'm putting Civ 6, which I played this year.
Oh, okay.
As my number 10. Again, I have played a lot of games this year. I did end up, after we talked about it, going back for a few matches and liked some appreciated some of the more political dynamics and ways of winning than I originally sort of knew. Yeah, not a lot else to say. We talked a bunch about it. Everyone knows Civ, but I thought, Yeah, I thought that it. One thing I liked about Civ 6 was that it does a thing. It felt actually more like, so 4 to 5 was like more of the same, better graphics, and 5 to 6 felt more of a, we're actually trying to not just churn out the same things with a couple tweaks.
Yeah.
And so that's why I felt like, given that I love the Civ games, that I felt like giving this one a bit of a space.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played it, but not much. I think I've only had maybe 2 games, and that was in the summer, I think.
Yeah, we talked about it kind of like March, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it. And in the summer, I played a few more, basically. And was just like, cool, this is actually the depth, so the orthogonal winning conditions I hadn't appreciated until I sort of played it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a reasonable game. It also, despite being much prettier than Civ 5, it doesn't actually require that much more of a machine.
Okay.
Which is kind of nice. I still think that if I had my druthers, I'd say Civ 2. Civ 2 is the best of Civ. It's probably totally nostalgia driven, but I loved that game.
When was the last time you played that?
It's really hard to get running on a Windows 8 plus machine, so it's been a number of years. What I liked about it was like, because of limitations and because the series hadn't progressed, it was just simplicity. Like, I mean, one of the reasons why I didn't notice the other winning conditions in Civ 6 is I'm so used to Civ being a world-conquering game.
Sure.
And that's all that you can do really in Civ 2, essentially, right? Like, it's much more about it's colonies, the game, right? And Civ, I ended up liking about the last few matches of Civ 6 I played was it's like, you don't necessarily have to be the big brute, and those winning conditions still require you to be a world power. So it's not like you can just sit on the sidelines and become, amazing. Like, I can't remember which one. It's either 4 or 5, where if you get like basically religious acolytes, you can just conquer the world. Like, you can just like churn out these guys who will then indoctrinate people, and you win via that. And it was like, I get that move, but it sort of undermined the win condition of like conquering, and I feel like they've balanced things on alternate conditions such that you need to be relatively strong in order to do these alternate win conditions. Yeah.
Plot twist. I have a beer.
A beer!
I'm feeling better now.
Excellent.
I just went through like a bout of sickness that lasted about an hour.
Amazing. So what did you pour?
The Brut IPA.
Okay, so what we're saying
the
is...
Northern Light Trilogy.
So you need to pound that, and Ben needs to sip it so that you can catch up. Well, since we've just done...
That's very nice, though.
It is.
Since we've just done number 10s, it's a good stopping point to just take a moment and tell us about the Brut.
Did you ever get like a nutty kind of flavour, Ben?
Yeah.
I'm getting that. It's like, I don't know. I don't think it's as much as a hard finish as other Brut IPAs that I've had. But yeah, it's quite. I'd say it's slightly lemony, slightly light kind of flavour. But yeah, but I'm getting like a nutty kind of. Unless it's just me and my taste buds are completely off. I'm getting like kind of like hazelnut kind of.
So it's not like the slight nutty taste you get off of lagers. It's like a more refined, like a specific nut.
Yeah, just right before the end, before it just cuts off. It's weird. It's nice. It's very light, and it's like slightly coriander soapy flavor that it's leaving for me. But it's not, a horrible kind of finish.
I do see what you mean. Just like right before that finish. Like, I think it's what I was kind of thinking, that this like lemony, piney, grassy kind of start to it. Yeah, it kind of builds up into just at the end.
It's like very quick just before it's like, oh, you get that refreshing kind of taste just before it just finishes off.
Yeah.
It's nice. I enjoy it.
Nice. Good.
Mm.
So I think we should have our next beer at 7. So you need to slow down. You need to speed up.
I don't need to finish it. You know, through the magic of editing, no one will realize that my can is still full.
And by editing, you mean just not keeping things in frame, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I've got another plot twist. I have bubbles.
Oh, that's amazing. No,
That's awesome.
can you blow in an up? I'm going to say this, and I've said it before, but
Yes.
can you blow in an upwards direction?
I'll do that for when we announce our number ones.
Hey!
A little celebration. so.
Little bubble celebration.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't have any glitter, unfortunately, but
Oh, don't worry.
Mm.
Okay. Number 9s then. Number 9s. Lucy, we'll come back to you.
Let me have a look what my number 9 is. Although I should know.
Number 9.
Oh, Hitman
Number
2.
9.
Hitman 2.
Oh,
Number
Yeah.
9.
Okay.
That's a fall from grace, Ryo.
It's because I haven't even finished it because I've been playing it for, over and over and over again. It's more Hitman, you know? It's like
Yeah.
Hitman 1.5. Hitman 2016 and
Yeah.
a half.
Which
over
is, I think,
to
the biggest
Kingdom Hearts.
judgment against it is that it's just not quite different enough to be a different game.
But I didn't want a different game. I was happy
Yeah, I mean,
to
right,
have
but,
Hitman back, yeah.
but that's why it's more man than hit. Nothing.
I guess so, yeah. I think
I
that
mean, like, never mind.
I think what's great to see is that people are actually like, oh, I missed out on the first Hitman. Why are people like so nuts about this game? And people are actually diving into it and for the first time, and getting those legacy maps for free, like the updated maps from 2016, and just the ongoing content. It's like Hitman is just like, the game. I'm sure. Did you send me that article, Aadil, from Wired or something, or? How they're saying Hitman 2 is like the only game I ever need for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's so good. So, but I haven't finished it because I'm taking my sweet ass time with it.
Yeah, and you've got to with something like that, because it just, as you say, you've got constant content coming out for it as well. So if you take a week off and play something else, and I think there's like a new elusive target out or something like that, and it's the time to kind of jump back in, that might then keep you in for another couple of days whilst you experience one of the other maps, or move on and try some different objectives and things. So it's one that will just keep pulling you back in.
Yes, and especially if they're going to release like new maps. I mean, their Holiday Hoarders thing of Christmas event has come back again this year, so I'll be playing that. I've been spending about 20 hours per level, and it's like, it's just so good. It's so good.
Big.
I love Hitman.
I mean, to be honest, that's
Never
one of the
leaves me.
reasons why I never really got into Hitman 1 was the fear of the time. Which I recognize now that I just need to be like, well, you like playing video games, play a couple hours of whatever the fuck video game you want, and then stop. And if it takes you a million years, that's okay. But boy, is it hard not to like see epic, expansive game with a lot of content as like, ooh, I don't want to start that. But that's also why. But I also really like epic, expansive games, and that's one of the reasons why in 2018 I've played very few games, because I've just avoided the games I like to play.
I'm genuinely surprised that you had a top 10 and honourable mentions.
I went through the Tanked Up archives and just read the like things, and then like fast forward through a couple episodes, like, what did I say about that? And I was like, oh, I played slightly more than 10 games. There are
and
things
here's me trying to crack 100.
Yeah. So I'm actually quite looking forward to. So my dissertation needs to be done by the end of February. I'm trying to get it done by the end of January. Then I'll just have teaching and like job applications and stuff. And those are things that you just can't do all day. So I'm really looking forward to 2019, because this is a hobby I really care about. by that I mean tanked up, but corollary to tanked up is playing games, so I could talk about shit on tanked up. And I miss playing games, and I recognize that a lot of my avoidance of games has just been the fear of being captured by games. That's also why I love games, because it can capture me. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Can't
that's why
win.
I pledged that 2019 will be the year of Aadil being late to Overwatch. I'm just going to play Overwatch all of the time, and when I don't play Overwatch, it'll be Fortnite.
Sounds like a great year.
You'll have a top 2 next year. It's
Yeah.
fine.
No,
You'll have a top 10
then
Overwatch characters.
Yeah, in the end, I'll just be like, I kind of like Team Fortress 2.
Yeah. I've actually gone back to CS:GO.
Yes. Go fuck yourself. You cannot play that game online. I'm not good at is online, has played it for too long. You can't just treat it like a pick up and go, pardon the pun, shooter.
No, you definitely can't. Should we move on?
Wait, who's done? You've done number 9. You've done number 9.
I've not done my number 9.
What's
You haven't
number-
done your number 9 either.
Yeah. Mine's boring. Go ahead, Ben.
I think my number 9 is Minute.
Yay! Because this would have been on my list, but it's not because it's on Ben's.
An instant
a-
straight through.
This is a Lucy's Gamble choice.
Yes, very much. Yeah, I absolutely loved it when I played it. It didn't hold me, say, for more than
A minute?
maybe about a week and a half. Yeah, because it is a small game, and I'd done everything I wanted to. I platinumed it. I did a very quick run in it. I kind of understood where everything was and how I could progress through it quite quickly, but within that first week, I think. So there's not much more for me to kind of go back to with it.
Yeah.
But as a as a first experience on it, I thought it was fantastic. The art style is wonderful, being in that black and white kind of 1-bit aesthetic. The music works really well with it. The characters have got personality, even though all they do is go and you get text for them, and
Yes.
it works kind of as a game really well.
Yeah.
With that whole kind of,
Conceptually, it's just brilliant,
yeah, it's just an adventure game, but you only do it in 1-minute chunks. And I when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh, that's super interesting, but it almost seems like it'd be far too daunting to play. How would I get my head around this idea that I need to do something in 1 minute? And then actually when you play it, like, oh, it is an adventure game, and you retain the items that you had. You just get teleported back to your start position every minute. So you can go over here and do this, teleported back. You can go over here and do this, teleported back. And it just worked really well. And it must have been play tested so much to make sure that everything was within that minute kind of
Like
reach.
within the range.
Yeah. And it's like I hadn't even heard of this game until like a week before it was out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I love that art style because I love my pixel art and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, just starting it, as you say, Ben, it was like, oh, am I going to be able to do this? A minute seems very limiting, but the game is just so well designed, as you say, to make sure everything is in range. And there's always it's carrot on a stick kind of game where it's like, I know where to go, I know what to do, I just need to do it within the time. It's like, can I do it? Can I make it? And it's like it's always you're incrementally getting closer to your goal every single run. So even if you don't accomplish anything in a run, you know that okay, it's a minute, so it's like on to the next one.
Yeah,
you
it's
never
not like
feel
you're
like,
wasting your time kind of
Yeah.
building the idea of the map in your head as well. So even if you run up here and it's got a tree in your way and you can't block through, you think, well, I must get something at some point that allows me to pass through here.
Yeah.
You die, you go back, and you think, right, I'll just take another route somewhere else and explore and have a look. And suddenly, after a few of those, you've found that item you need to be able to progress through that other route.
Yeah.
It is very well constructed.
Yeah, and the fact that you can just instantly kill your character and
Yes.
stop it run
Yeah.
that as well. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I've achieved something. I'm not going to be able to achieve anything else in the next 10 seconds. I'll just kill myself and start again. Very
Yeah,
good.
I mean, I played a little bit of it, but I didn't quite get into the details. So I like got the dynamic, but in a very loose sense. And it was one of those things where I want to play this again. It's on my like come back to list on Steam. I
Yeah.
have like a categorization of like these are things I want to do, and a lot of them
Yep.
are games like this where I've dabbled and realized I'm just not giving it enough time, and then other games that basically you guys have suggested. Yeah,
Yeah,
so good.
I want to buy it again on Switch, man. It seems like the perfect place to play it.
I was gonna say I would love to have it on Switch. 'Cause, like I don't use my Switch that much,
Yeah.
but when it is, it's in bed, and this is the exact type of game that just lends itself to that.
Completely, yeah. I think you'd probably sit there and think, I'll just do this for 5 minutes, 5, 6 runs maybe, and then 20 minutes later, you suddenly realise time has just disappeared because of that quick repeat button as well, and being able to kill yourself. You're so quick to be like, right, done, yep, next run, yep, done, next run, yep, done, next run, and just keep going and keep going and keep going. So, yeah, fun experience.
And the art style reminds me of an upcoming game. What is it called? Kato Roboto or something? Which is a
Yes.
Metroidvania from Devolver Digital, and I cannot wait for that game.
Yes.
I want it now.
You're a cat.
And it's Metroid.
Yeah.
It's straight up. I think it even starts like exactly the same as like Metroid.
Nice.
Yeah, don't you shoot down onto it? Do you shoot down onto a planet and then you have to get into a suit or something's broken? And so, yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Good. Aadil, number 9. Number 9.
Yep. Number 9 is another old game, but it's a game I actually put some time in, and it was
Mist.
what?
An old game.
You just steal my thunder. That was not only on my list, but my number 1. Now I have nothing. No, it was Knights of Pen and Paper +1.
Oh, yes.
Which came out, I don't think this year.
No, because the second one came out this year.
Yeah.
Did that even come out this year?
No.
I
don't even think 2 came out. What again? So this is what actually took time. It's a game I came back to. I think it has problems, but I think it sort of models the very mechanics of having a group of friends playing tabletop D&D. And if you've ever done that, there's nostalgia that will bear you through the first 5 to 10 hours of the game. As soon as that nostalgia started waning, I didn't sort of stopped caring about it, but I ended up coming back to it a couple of times just because I was like, because it literally, the premise is you're doing that thing that the nostalgia is, rather than sort of appealing to the nostalgia in like an abstract way, because here are your characters in the thing. You can pretend like you're doing a tabletop RPG, which is the usual things. It's like, no, you're literally just a group of people at a table, and you can earn the rights to more people, which I thought was a really good mechanic. And the fact that there's like 3 types of quests normally would be like kind of boring, but because they're so exemplary of tabletop, like, oh, I don't know, you're good. Someone asked you to do a thing, go do the thing. Now there's a bad guy. And so like what should be weaknesses because of the design end up being strengths, because instead of being like, I can only do these 3 things, you're like, of course I can do only these 3 things, because usually these are the 3 things GMs and RPGs give you advice on. Like, this is all you can do. So it's like, what if your GM was kind of lame and only used like stock book answers? And it was like, that makes sense. I've had a GM like that. And so like I really liked it because it managed to make me acknowledge the failing, like the limitations of the game, but in a way that made it feel meta. So that's, nothing else.
Nice. It's quite humorous as well. I remember starting the second one and putting it down after maybe an hour, because it was very much the same thing, and I was happy with the experience I had from Knights and Pen and Paper +1. So I just kind of put 2 down pretty quickly.
Yeah,
really.
I see no reason to get 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I put hours into that when I didn't really put hours into many games, and so that's why it hits my list.
Sure. Nice. Let's then move on to our number 8s, and back to you, Lucy.
Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
Oh, nice.
It's a period drama.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Starring
probably is,
Dracula. Is Dracula in the game? I guess you play as like a Dracula. I conflate Bloodstained and Castlevania because they're basically the same. But yeah, from Inti Creates, it's their prequel to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, I think it's called,
Right.
which is actually the Symphony of the Night looking Castlevania game that's coming next year. But yeah, they just put this out as like, I don't know, to get a bit more revenue for their ongoing project. But yeah, it's like it's I think it was about £8 or something. I think it's 16-bit like Castlevania. It's Castlevania like 3.5.
Right.
And it's so unapologetically Castlevania in everything, in terms of like, the classic knockback, the classic, combat in it, and stupid platforming sections, and practically the lore. It's something to do with, I'm sure, vampires or something like that. I don't know, but but it mixes it up in ways that make it new and fresh, and it's like, it has multiple characters. These characters have different move sets, and you switch in between them all, and yeah, it's just a callback to Castlevania, and it just sent me on a complete Castlevania binge afterwards. I played through whole of Castlevania 1. Did I play through? No, I don't think I played through 3. Played Super Castlevania 4 and Symphony of the Night again.
Oh, well, that's the Castlevania that's set on Krypton?
I'm just going to skirt over that. But it's just, yeah, move on. But it's just like, yeah, it just sent me on a Castlevania binge, and it just reminds me how much I love that series and wish it would come back in a 2D side-scrolling fashion. Yeah. None of that 3D crap.
Yeah, I never played any of the 3D ones. I don't remember what they're called. Book of Shadows.
It's all to do with music. And I want to play Rondo of Blood, but that's only on PlayStation in that crappy collection, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
To say the least. Yeah, I might go download some of the ones on 3DS. Yeah, Bloodstained is far better than it has any right to be, and it's a great game. People should play it.
Yes, yeah, it's one of those that sat on my list of things I want to get to, but just I haven't found the time yet, I suppose. It's kind of, it's on the slightly anticipated list. Like, I want to play this at some point. Not quite as much as these other things, but I don't think I have quite that much, or as much nostalgia for like Castlevania as you do, Luce. So I don't think it was like an instant, well, it definitely wasn't an instant buy for me, but something I'm interested in. Because did you back the Bloodstained on Kickstarter?
I didn't, because it looks cool, but I don't like the art style. I'm not a fan of the art style, but I probably will play it like after playing this, because if this gets like Castlevania 3 so spot on, then I imagine Ritual of the Night is going to be completely like Symphony of the Night, because they're obviously not afraid to make very heavy kind of callbacks to the original, shall we say. It's straight up copying.
Yeah.
And it's great. And Konami just don't care at this point, so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. No. It's got good and bad points, the lack of care of Konami.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's like, I understand it completely. It's like, these things don't make enough money. Yeah. Just put it in your arcades and your,
Yeah, when you get to Castlevania pachinko machines, then they might start to kick up some fuss. Should we move on to my number 8? I don't know whether this is going to feature on yours or not, Lucy. But it's Moonlighter.
No, I never got around to playing that, unfortunately.
Oh, did you not? Oh.
No.
So
I got it, and I need to play it. It's on my Xbox.
It's a game that sort of was just super compelling. That I loved the loop of dungeon crawling and managing the loot that you had to then take back to your shop, and then managing the shop and selling the loot, and the idea that you put your own price on all of this, and you kind of had to discover the best price, and that fluctuated depending on how many you'd sold. So the market was saturated with those, or whether people came in. There was characters who came into the shop that would give you like additional. They'd pay 1.5 times or 2 times for the price. So you'd frantically run around your shop taking off all the really low priced items off of the shelves, so they only had expensive ones to buy. Like that mini kind of management element to it really endeared it to me, and made that like dungeon crawling element that little bit deeper, because you'd go and be like, right, I can ignore this loot. I know that I've got a load of those stashed in a chest. I'm not going to make anything from those. I need to save my inventory space for something that's going to come back, that I can sell for 5,000 credits or for 15,000 credits or something like that, rather than these that go for 15 credits. So that just the whole kind of loop just kept me going and kept me going. And I think I started to find it, or I found it hard to begin with, but it actually kind of opens itself up quite nicely with the kind of the tacked on RPG elements that it has of allowing you to upgrade equipment and be able to then take on the tougher enemies and move to sort of like the next dungeon once you'd beaten the boss in sort of in the previous one. So I haven't finished it. I'm still in the last dungeon, kind of bumming about, not really kind of making much progress. And I don't know whether that's because I put it down to play something else and then went back to it and was like, wow, I've kind of got to, I don't have to really refamiliarize myself with it. It's a very sort of simple control scheme, but it was kind of one of those like, maybe I'll play this for like 15 minutes and then kind of turning it off and then just not going back to it again and playing something else. But it's one of those that I'm sat there thinking, I've got some time in the next few weeks. This is something I should probably finish. I don't think there's much more of it for me to experience. I'm very much on the home stretch for it.
Capitalism, the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, there's a bunch of those.
Yeah, it's one I want to get to even quicker now that you laud it so much. So yeah,
good. That's all we have to say about it.
Oh, I have an honourable mention that I forgot. Bad North, the strategy game.
Oh, yes. The only strategy game on your list, I imagine.
Yes.
What's that one about again?
Vikings coming to attack tiny little islands.
Right.
Very pretty. Very hard after a certain point, and I never finished it.
So it's like How to Train Your Dragon without the dragons?
I've never seen that film.
That's fine. Fine. I'm just saying nonsense. Just ignore me.
But they're Vikings. I think that's because of the Vikings, perhaps. Aadil, we'll come to you, sir. Number 8.
You'll be surprised to hear that this is also an old game that I played this year.
Is it Mist?
No, it's Riven!
Hey!
Yeah, I did peek on that. Sorry. It is... Oh, fuck. Is it? Make sure I get my list right. It is Lego City Undercover.
Oh, okay. I have not played this one yet. Did you get it on Switch or?
No, I have it on personal computer.
PC. Okay. Oh, okay.
It. I love it on Switch. It's the only open world game I've played this year.
What I want to do.
So I was gonna say, so feel free, everyone, to judge me as a filthy casual child man.
No, like I've heard nothing but good things about that game.
It is very accessible, obviously. It does all the Lego shit that you expect, but I love that you have the open worlds. So part of the problem is, of course, every time you load it, all the destructibles in the world are recreated. So like you definitely have infinite money, like studs, because. But you collect studs as well as pieces, and certain like puzzles require using pieces. So for a all ages game, it does. I mean, unless you're like doing a reboot cycle, to like I know this place has X, like you do have to like kind of figure things out. There's certain spots where you can build on a platform. In an early game, the only thing you build is like a car station. But as you progress, there's more things you can build, so those spots become more dynamic. So, for example, you're like in the boonies, you don't have a car, you can just build a place that gets you the fast car. It has like stunt jumps and stuff. It has a reasonably well acted plot. It's like a buddy cop minus the buddy movie.
Yes. I was about to say that. Yeah, I'm sure it's like a buddy cop drama.
Yeah, and it like deals with tropes, including like the like sexy lady at the department who like gives you gear. But what's nice is that the guy who's infatuated with her is just one of the side characters, so you never have to like deal with that full frontal. Ooh, pardon the pun.
Yeah, I was like, what? I thought it was an E for everybody.
No, but what I mean by that, like, they make the like bumbling oaf infatuated with her, so they can exploit that trope without foisting it on the actual main player, given the main player might not have that type of feeling. So they could like enjoy that trope but because the target's slightly different than in the standard cop dramas, that's great. Like, it's really accessible. It's also just a lot of fun. It's not hard, obviously, but I still enjoyed going through. I'm like probably only like 5 hours in the game or whatever, like with fucking about and playing some plot. But the plot was interesting, and the set pieces, because it's a modern Lego game. I guess my only big criticism is that modern Lego games started to really be set piece based versus just generic. Like the old Star Wars ones where the set piece was described with like dialogue or whatever, but you were just going through the level as normal. And now it's like, oh, now there's a thing you have to do. Yeah. I kind of like the freedom and the simplicity of the old style where the plot was not changing the gameplay. But it's a really fun game, especially if you have people in your lives who aren't like, who are younger. It's a great game to play together, etc. But I actually just enjoyed the gameplay. I liked the fact that I could mow down some, and all the pedestrians obviously automatically jump out of the way. But like you could just mow down some park benches and whatever and get some studs, and that's fine. And it was just it's a fun Lego game. And I think what really grabbed me was one of the reasons I like the Lego games is fucking about. And now I have a whole city where, until I go to point X where the next plot point is, all I'm supposed to do is fuck about.
Yeah. Lego games are great. I mean, I've been playing Lego games for like 20 years. So. Shame I've missed this one. Yeah. But it was only on Wii U at one point.
For a long time, yeah. And then it came out on the Switch and the PC, I think,
and
pretty
Xbox
close.
And PlayStation, I believe,
Okay.
It basically just got a blanket. But yeah, if you're in the mood for a lighthearted, kid-friendly, open-world game, can't think of a better game.
Yeah, play Lego Island. And deliver pizza.
Okay, we'll do that instead, I guess.
Should we talk about our next beers?
I thought we were waiting till number 7. Oh, is it the end of 7?
We're about to go into number 7.
Oh, I know. I wanted to say that just because I know you've been finished for a while, and I knew you were like on the way. The Bill said 7, and now I wanted to throw the wrench in, being like, sorry, this spanner, being like, no, I meant after 7, Ben.
I'm opening a beer.
Let the man open a beer.
So I will crack it. So this is I'm going to open the yeast of the trilogy, and this is a sour IPA in collaboration with Verdant. So it's 6.5%. It is 1.064 OGs, 7 EBCs, 25 IBUs, and the hops are Amarillo, Citra, Azaka, and Zythos. It's also got malted barley, wheat, oats, spelt, and lactose.
And vanilla.
Hops,
Jeez,
vanilla, and hibiscus.
I say hibiscus.
Hibiscus.
That's
rather
how
than
I
hibiscus.
say it.
Well, you can say it however you like.
Quick context. How do you say hibiscus?
I've always said hibiscus, but I'm Canadian, so my opinion doesn't matter in this country.
Yeah, absolutely does not. Get
That's
eggs.
fair. We'll pour these. What are you drinking, Aadil?
I am drinking a Cloudwater collaboration with Stillwater Artisanal,
Okay.
which is upside down labeled Stillwater Artisanal.
Yes.
Cloudwater, Stillwater. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is.
It stinks. Sorry, it's just smelling my beer.
Yeah.
It stinks.
It's
Yeah, it does.
a
Why does it
sour
smell so
pilsner.
bad?
And-
Oh, so you're drinking a sour as well?
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like I planned this, knowing what you guys had, very lightly. This fruited sour pilsner is a collaboration with good friends from Stillwater Artisanal in New York. We soured with our house Lactobacillus culture and fermented with a German Bock yeast before fruiting with lychees and passion fruit puree during fermentation. The yeast is WLP833. The additions are Mosaic BBC, canned lychees, passion fruit puree, and the bittering hops are alpha extract and pilgrim CO2. And the malts are bark, pills, and spelt. That's another spelty.
Ooh. We are very well, synchronized today. More so than any other.
I was just like, I knew there was a sour involved with you guys, but I definitely didn't realize the spelt connection.
Yeah.
No. Oh, I didn't even know any of these had spelt in them, to be fair.
I mean, this is it's a sour, but it's definitely a sour IPA because the head is there and it's not moving.
Yeah, massively.
And it actually stinks.
Does.
It stinks. It
Stinks sourly or just stinks like
No,
what are the...
It smells like burning metal.
Oh Jesus! Fuck! I wasn't
You
prepared
just
for that.
walked into a forge. This is probably the smell you get. Now I'm interesting to see because Brut IPA, I could, knowing that it was in collaboration with Whiplash, I definitely got a taste of like that Whiplash yeast. I mean, I had a Whiplash beer yesterday, and it's like, and that kind of like just clean, soft flavor that Whiplash had to all their beers. So, I mean, Ben, you've had a sip. Can you taste any hint of Verdant in it?
Not sure.
It stinks.
And the taste is very reminiscent of the smell as well.
Really?
I was
Do I
expecting
want to
it being
drink
with
this?
kind of with Verdant of it being. It's a little toned down in the taste than it is in the nose. It's only slightly though. The sour is I mean it's there. There's a little bit of sweetness to it.
Yeah.
I'm not getting much IPA from it.
No. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
I do not like this beer.
Ben, do you also not like this, or are you not quite there yet?
I don't think it's not that I don't like it, but I don't think I like it. I think it's very it's a sour, but it's just kind of very a bit kind of like okay, it's what's the word I'm looking for?
It's kind of
not
sickly
offensive,
sweet for me.
I mean, it has got that little bit of sweetness to it, definitely.
Like to a sickly kind of point. I think it's that vanilla and lactose that they put in there. It's like it
could be.
like
It has that
drinking
slight
milk
creaminess
egg.
to
Why
it.
not? Yeah.
It's not
You know
quite
how
as...
milk sours over time? That's what this reminds me of.
Oh no, I don't
Drinking
quite
a-
get that. I don't
Yeah,
quite
I'm
get that.
getting
But
that.
it's it does have that little bit of carbonation that you think of with the sour. But I think you're right. It does have that lactosey kind of almost creaminess to it. That it's almost like it's kind of getting towards like the build in the mouthfeel of like a cream soda type of thing. But it's got a little
It's
bit
like
of
a weird
fruitiness.
cream ale.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of fruitiness in the kind of in the sour element to it, but obviously that's heightened quite a lot to get that sour kind of build. But I don't think with this it's doing very much for me, really.
It's just no. I don't like this. I'm gonna drink it anyway because
Of course.
I'm not chucking this down the sink. It's not as too bad that I'd chuck it down the sink. It's just very. I mean, I've got on record on this podcast saying that I don't really like sour IPAs that much, apart from the Buxton one.
I mean, I like sour beers now, but not sour IPAs especially.
Yeah, it's like it's just two polarizing styles that I don't think work well together. Like say, like a black IPA does.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck yeah! I had a black IPA earlier today. The one by Brewhouse in Bristol, and it's a solid black IPA. It does a little poorly on the finish. in that it does more of the black side than the IPA side. Then I want like something lingering. But it does. I mean, it's a black IPA. It does the black side, does the IPA side reasonably well.
Nice.
In the main taste. I will tell you that it's like a hazier but still golden. It's a sour pilsner. So again, we're closer to the lagery side of things.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a sour pilsner.
No,
I mean, that's actually why I picked it up. It was like, you've had sours, I've had sour weird things, but I've never had a sour pilsner. You can easily get the slightly tropical but mostly sour on the nose, that like lactobacillus sort of textbook sourness that comes with that yeast. Oh, wow, that's interesting. So most of the sourness is offset by that passion puree. Like I could have told you there's passion fruit in this without reading the can. It's very clearly passion fruit going on here. I mean, let's be honest. I might have said, well, is it mango? Is it passion fruit? Is passion fruit? But I'm super... I'm just surprised at how forward that is. So basically it starts and it's like, hey, I'm a little sour. Isn't this interesting? Oh, don't worry, there's some sweetness. Like it's a really quick transition. And then it leaves me reasonably wet in the mouth. Mouth feels neutral, but like the texture is neutral. Mouth feels reasonably wet. But because it's like sour than sweet really quickly, I want to have another sip. Because I'm like, wait, what just happened? So it's not a case of reaching for it because the finish is making me want to re-cleanse my palate. It's like, I'm not sure what just happened. It's very quick.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense given that it's a Pilsner. So although they've added a lot of hops post-hoc, it's still, those hops don't do enough because, again, they're additions. They're not like the main hops.
It's nice. It's good. It sounds good.
Oh, man. It's quite good. I'm just surprised because... So it starts a little sour, goes sweet, and then the finish is really light, and it's a sour again.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, but again, the sour is really light. It's it's Cloudwater. You shouldn't be surprised that it's quite a light, nuanced move.
Yeah.
But this is not what I expected, although I didn't know what I expected. This is a very quality beer. If you have a chance to get the Stillwater Artisanal upside down level. Good lord, label.
Blue can.
I want to pick that up.
It's worth trying because I haven't quite had such a light beer with such a nice nuanced sort of back and forth while still being short.
Yeah,
it's really excellent beer. I'm really like it.
Yeah, I wish I was in your seat, not having to smell this terrible smelling beer.
Whose choice it was this beer?
Yeah, it's like just as you go and sip it, it's like it's quite interesting how like if it just smells bad, you know you're not in for a good time.
Yeah. Well, there's
I don't know what yeast they. Okay, deal. God. I already want to puke because of this beer. Don't make it even worse.
Let's talk about some games then, Lucy. We'll move on to our number 7.
What are we on? 7 or 6?
7.
Okay.
I might need to get a fourth beer.
I might just to wash.
I've got some here.
Swill. But anyway, genital jousting. Is my number 7. Very early one this year. January. But yeah, it's Genital Jousting came out at least in early access last year, I think.
Yeah, but it's a multiplayer game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a party game. I've never actually played the multiplayer, but I just bought it on a sale one time, just on a whim. So it's very fun and stupid. And then just out of nowhere, they said, "Oh yeah, there's been an update. We've added a single player story." And I was like, "Okay." I mean, I don't think I want to go into too much detail about what genital jousting is, but
why not?
Just look at a screenshot on the Steam page, and That's everything you need to know. But the story, like the single player, it's the closest that I think we will come to a Stanley Parable sequel.
Yes.
It's very it's basically an adventure game. You play as titular character. I can't remember what his name is, but he's a peen, and it's just basically his, heartfelt, emotional, relatable story about how he's got a school reunion coming up. Like, what have I done with my life? I need to find a date. I need to get married. I need to have children or something before all this day comes. And it's just his, just his spiral into madness at trying to be a normal human being, which is quite hard to do. I know from first-hand experience. Yes, especially when you're a peen. And it's just got this really hilarious narrator who is probably British, because you can only be in a narrator if you're British. But I mean,
that's my plan in the new year. Is if I if I can't find a job in philosophy, I'm just going to be like, I'm going to be an upheaval in the marketplace of indie games. Be like, no, North American narrators, they're the new thing.
Yeah. There's definitely a market there for you.
They won't have you. They'll throw you out. But yeah, it's just how the narrator comments on.
Say that, and they're like, "What? Your address is in the UK, so we'll hire you."
Exactly. You turn up, and they just laugh you out of the room, like.
It's like, this guy's Canadian. Yeah. No, they'll probably say you're a Yank first, and then you'll say a boot.
That's true.
But yeah, how the narrator just comments on the stupid crap you're doing in that game, and yeah, it's hilarious. It's like one of the funniest games I've ever played. Excellent. And it just came out of left field.
It is
fun, mildly intended.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's on my list ever since we talked about that single player. I'm like, I want to try this out. I just want to have a stretch of time to really take my time, edge a little.
Oh,
it's so not long either, is it?
No, it's probably about 2-3 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just about getting a peen dressed, getting a peen to walk through a field, and just stupid, hilarious physicsy kind of gameplay. It's hilarious.
It sounds like it's like in the same genre of like that goat game, but with much more thought.
Yes,
with a narrative, I suppose. I've not played Goat Simulator for a long time, so I don't know what about it.
I mean, that game is intentionally buggy and but it is
I mean, in the sense of like irreverent nonsense, love putting some random thing in the person.
I'd say it's a bit more like Manual Samuel, which is actually pretty good.
That game's good. Yeah, I like Manual Samuel.
It's really good.
Nice. Good. I'm going to move on to mine, but I don't know whether it's going to feature. I assume it will feature on your list, Lucy. So we're not going to talk about it. But my number 7, or we talk about it later. My number 7 is Return of the Obra Dinn.
Yep.
Yes, I'm doing the hand signal.
The signal has been given, so we're moving on later.
I really like how we established a hand signal, and then now that we finally had to use it, we're like, I am doing hand signal.
We've got to point it out. Anyone watching will be like, what the fuck? I tuned in 30 minutes in. I don't know what's going on. What's this hand signal?
The point of the hand signal was we could seamlessly move to... This was my number
There's nothing seamless about this podcast.
There never has been. There never will be. Aadil, number 7, sir.
Oh shit, am I on again?
Yes, because the hand movement was done.
It's that game I played with the dinosaurs.
Oh, Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park Genesis.
No, Jurassic World. Jurassic something. The Telltale game.
I mean, Jurassic World Evolution. The game by the theme park people.
No. The game by the Planet Coaster people?
Sorry, that's right. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Yes, sorry. I apologize to everyone involved.
It's fine. The theme park people are like, fuck, did we make this? Fucking hell.
I mean, technically, I might have describing a genre rather than a specific game.
Yeah.
It's clearly not what I was meaning, but I'll double down on that. Despite the failings of that game, I played a lot of hours of that game. I got to I passed the second last island and then finally gave up. There are problems, but it's still a really gratifying, especially in the short run.
Mhm.
Fucking Jurassic Park simulator.
Yeah.
And like, one of my problems is if I was running Jurassic Park, I wouldn't want to make animals fight, and at some point you have to do it to progress. And
You have to do this bizarre cockfighting game. It's like, no,
Exactly,
you
you're
must
like-
fight.
yeah, and it's like this is really weird, and so like the basis doesn't really make sense with respect to the movies, because obviously
Yeah.
everyone involved with these parks, except for Inogen, Inogen didn't want to make the animals fight; they wanted to make the animals fight humans as like.
Oh yeah, wasn't that thing in the movie where they train them to be like soldiers?
Yeah, the point wasn't that. The point
What?
wasn't a cockfighting room.
I'm sure in like the first
It was
Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point was we want to exploit these as battlefield things, but not.
I
The
can just
enemy wouldn't
imagine a
have them.
raptor in like an army hat and like holding a machine gun.
And so it didn't really make sense, except for this like weird orthogonal idea of if I make them all fight, then the one that's best will be the best soldier. And it's like, well, that doesn't really make sense because they all pretty well kill humans easily.
Yeah, come on, man, that film is awful.
It is
Awful.
So I mean, so it held me for I'm gonna say 10 to 20 hours, something along those lines. I could look it up. It held me for a number of.
Did it help having Ian Malcolm doing a lot of the
Oh, he
the
didn't do that
narration?
voice. Most of the narration was done by the three heads of the three things you have to balance: science and
What's
you
the
have
point
to
of having
basically
him?
every island you had to balance the entertainment faction versus the science faction versus the security faction. But that just meant doing various missions or like side quests for them, and then you could potentially have them all up and high. And so it was never like really a thing. It was just like, which one will I tackle first?
Sure.
What my biggest problem was, as soon as I opened the gates to, well, let's make them fight because I had to. It got pretty samey. It was like I could make an arena in, like, because I got far enough in the game, I unlocked the sandbox island. You can just make a fucking sandbox and throw dinosaurs and see what happens. But most of the animations are the same.
Sure.
For the kill animations, etc. And so it was really just what are the dice rolls going on in the background on whether it's like if two equally matched dinosaurs happened and one hit first, and it was like, well, unless they fail a dice roll, they'll win. And it was really, and then the animation's the same. And it's like, well, I didn't want to start this thing, and now you've made me start it, and it's super underwhelming. And so my biggest complaint about that game is it could have been so much more like Planet Coaster, where you cared, like you could click on the people and see what they wanted, and you could do more with the venues, etc. Like it's a Jurassic Park simulator. The park is important, and but like my fanboyism for Jurassic Park, the original movie, and dinosaurs in general made me overlook. Yeah, made me overlook these things. I knew they were problems. I knew there were problems before I bought the game.
Yeah, I think they had.
I still liked it. But
No,
I
that's
think they
good.
had quite
Yeah.
a quick turnaround on that game as well. They had to bash that out quite quickly. I think after they were given the
and I think a lot of it had to
license.
do with licensing, etc. Because like I can't imagine they couldn't have added some of this more deep park level stuff that they had in Planet Coaster World.
Yeah.
Whatever the last Planet Coaster was. And I'm pretty sure it was just like, we don't want to deal with customer dissatisfaction, etc. We want these all to be just random people. And like, if you end up making like apocalypse style, like mid-movie Act 2 scenarios, there was no real mapping between the number of people that the console told you were in the park and the number of little bodies that were in the park.
Yeah,
And it was like, well,
that's a shame.
yeah, so it didn't give me the satisfaction of like when I've built a Sim City and destroyed it, because it was very clearly kind of arbitrary.
Yeah.
But if you want, I mean, I'm sure it's on sale now and much
It
cheaper.
is on sale today in the Steam sale, in fact.
Yeah, so I think if you want like 10 hours and you just want to build parks and solve some simple like park puzzles and have the opportunity to just like delete fence and have the raptors go through. And also, like, the first time you build an island with things like raptors, you get pissed off at them because it's so hard to please certain animals. I guess the problem is it's once you understand the dynamics, even some of the like herbivores will still bust out fences but once you understand that it's literally like they need a minimum population of their species, which is shown in a bar, and they need a minimum maximum population of people in the same pen, and a certain amount of forest, a certain amount of water, and then it's just I know, like, so like I could recreate this that I figured out in Island 1 all the way through of herbivores and know that I wouldn't have a problem.
Sure.
Because there's no dynamics on it. It's just like find a static level, that's fine. And so that kind of sucked when I got further in the game, because it was like I figured out enough things through the progression of the islands that I could just make individual pens that I know will just be fine. And then it's just what's this new thing, and it's a small minor thing.
Yeah.
And then I end up just being bored and putting a T-Rex in the Diplodocus.
One of the reasons it doesn't feature higher on your list, I suppose.
Yeah, but I think it did. So I think it's a really good early mid-game game, and it just suffers dramatically on the end game. But that doesn't mean it's not fun.
Are you interested in the DLC? Dr. Wu's DLC, or
no? Not at all.
Okay.
Like,
fair enough.
I'll probably go back to it when I'm bored to finish that last island, and maybe fuck around on the sandbox. But I mean, like I said, one of the problems, like the only really interesting thing on the sandbox is like pushing your machine to the limits and being like, how many big fucking things, like how big of a pen can I have, and how many things can I release, and see what the carnage is. Because I mean, if you want to know statistically which dinosaur will beat the other ones, people have done the YouTube videos. Like, you know that this thing like will beat the raptor every time. So it's like, well, I don't need to watch those animations. So what might be interesting is like a more battle royale, like, what if I put this random population of things with these other things? But
that's
again,
already a game though. That simulation game, I can't remember what it's called, where you can just put like tanks and on machine guns on like a rhino and face it off against like 10,000 chickens.
Why is this not the #1 game for all of us? What the fuck is this?
I can't remember what it's called, but
I know
it's
what you're
like
talking about.
Battle Simulator or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's just as soon as you understand the mechanics of the game, similarly with the shops and stuff, you're like, you could play the game through without ever adjusting the shops on what they sell and how much they sell it. And as soon as you understand that that's a thing, it's just a matter of literally you just start pushing buttons on the thing saying how many staff members, what thing are you selling, what price, and then it tells you what the profit per hour is. So you're just like, okay, I'll maximize this and come back to it in an hour. And so even that part is just like, well, all I'm doing is 7 clicks on each building for the same reason and the same grounding.
I'm starting to fail to see why this is on your list.
Yeah, a little bit. We talked about this enough now. Let's move on. Let's move on to number 6 in our list of games. Lucy, number 6.
This is where my list starts to get a bit crazy, because it's like, anything could have been 6, 5, 4.
Okay.
And 3.
Okay.
But it's let me get the right title. Marvel's Spider-Man. I don't think it's just called Spider-Man, isn't it? Marvel TM Spider-Man.
I think you're right. I think it's Marvel's Spider-Man.
For PS4.
I would make the motion.
Yes.
But actually, this is also my number 6.
Yeah, I thought it would be.
You both have it at number 6.
I was like, I don't think this is going to be
Marvel
higher for
Spider-Man PS4.
Yes. Stupid name. Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Not Tobey Maguire's.
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Yes.
You know that the fucking shitty fanboys yelled at the studio for so long to get that stupid suit that I hate, and it sucks because there's no way Peter Parker could have made it.
I opened the game up today. Looks shit.
What, is it in the game?
Yep. Yeah. Put it today.
Yep. Fanboys petitioned for so long that they put it in the game.
I know, but it's like the people who are nostalgic for that suit are probably my age. and are therefore too old to be complaining about.
That's not how that works.
So, the game itself.
To be honest, I use the comic book suit, and I never change back.
That's
It's
brilliant. That is a brilliant suit.
That's the cell-shaded comic book one.
Oh man, that sounds great.
It's very good.
Yeah, really good.
I can't wait for Ben to be done with the DLC of the game and play it.
Hey, I've just finished the second one. Have I just finished the second one, or I'm very close to finishing the second one? So
okay, and
the third one comes out
this
tomorrow.
Friday. Yes.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm
I'll be
hoping
playing it
Ben
over
will take
Christmas.
some time and finish it, and then when I go over for Christmas, he can play it.
Probably.
And then I'll put it in front of God of War because I don't care as much about God of War as playing Spider-Man.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I don't want to compare God of War and Spider-Man, but I had much more fun playing Spider-Man than God of War. It's just, it makes you feel like a kid again, like just playing something that's just all about fun. There's nothing to, I mean, the story gets a bit heavy, but it's just gratuitous in like how over the top fun that game is and how good it feels to play. And I mean, they got the swinging down to a T. You know, the combat is like very Batman Arkham games, but it's I think it's better. You know,
it flows quite well. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it isn't just all about counters.
Exactly. Yeah. It's one of the things that I was thinking whilst playing today. How good the movement in that game is. How easy it is to just swing through a city and a random crime will pop up and you can just drop in and start going.
So seamless.
And it just flows straight into that, you know, getting the drop on people or perching on a nearby like lamp and street light and just being able to lift people up. It just works so well in its movement. I think it doesn't feature higher on my list because like story wise, I just don't think I cared that much.
I genuinely liked the story, and especially at the end, it was like, God, I'm getting a bit choked up here. Didn't cry. This is one of the games that actually didn't make me cry on this, but it's just, you know, I really enjoyed. I thought the story was better than it had any right to be. I didn't expect anything from the story, and I thought it was really good. You know, playing all different characters, even though the Miles and Mary Jane sequences could get a bit annoying at times. I think it was nice to break up play, and there were some genuinely good missions, like on in the it's going to be light spoilers for this podcast, but like in the Osborne like penthouse suite, and
definitely
in the train station when you're seeing, you know, directing Spider-Man. That was so but yeah,
that's a really good one.
I mean, I love Spider-Man the character, you know, so as does everybody else. So it was great to have a game where they actually well by the character, and just overall a very good game as well. Yeah, it's like I expected it to be fantastic because it's Insomniac, and after playing Sunset Overdrive, you're just like, okay, they know how to nail the feel of their games.
Yeah, very much so. I mean,
having a beloved character on top of that, it's just fantastic game.
I mean, one of the reasons why I was hesitant to sell my Xbox is because I was like, I want to play more of that Sunset Overdrive, and there's no other platform. Like, it was such a good game.
On PC now.
There is now.
Is it?
Yeah, it came to PC a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, well, I'll do that at some point then, because I really enjoyed that game in a very...
I played the hell out of that game, played all the DLC.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Nice. Aadil, let's move on to your number 6. I don't think I've got much that I can add to what you said, really.
All right, because you both were that.
Yeah.
My number 6 is a little game that Ben introduced me to, which is called Cycle 28.
Oh, nice.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. I was thinking of Energy. Yeah, sorry. I was like, what? Yeah, Cycle 28, yes.
I definitely haven't checked in with the community. I have no idea what the progression of the meta narrative was, but I loved...
Someone figured it out.
I did, yep.
I don't want to know. So I've come back to it a couple of times. I enjoy the simple gameplay loop of the game, and I enjoy that there's something else going on, and I don't really want to know the little bits and pieces that other people have found out, especially if someone's found out the whole thing. It's a game like I came back to a handful of times in the year. Not a lot, like, 15, 20 minutes here and there, but it's like the gameplay loop still held me. I really enjoyed it. It was just like, but why it's there is because I'm intrigued by what might be the case, and the gameplay loop was still good every time I returned to it. It felt fresh. And so that's why it's my number 6, because I thought minute I tried to come back to after the first thrust, and I just didn't remember enough, and it's like
it's probably best to start again.
And so
because that's got like a through line plot and adventure, whereas Cycle 28 is a pick up and go arcade game.
And so this isn't a knock as Minute. It's just the reason why I could easily return to Cycle 28 where I could is because the gameplay dynamic is different, and even if I couldn't remember the narrative moves, I could easily pick up the game.
Yeah,
because the game mechanics are very simple. Hard to master, but very simple.
So
that's why I thought it was worth ranking, because I'm still intrigued by the overall story, and I could easily pick time and time again, and I probably will again.
Yeah, I mean, I love arcade games. The fact that this one has a story that will just not just high scores and unlocking new abilities will compel you to go on. There's also the story, and it's like, don't usually have that in arcade games. It's usually here's your objective, do it.
Yeah, I thought I was really intrigued, and I think the few to that game definitely were like, maybe I could figure out something that other people couldn't. And then obviously when I left it alone for months, I was like, I will never catch up to the other people who are paying attention to this. But it definitely was a reason for me to go back. But the gameplay, the simplicity but hard to master, like these are the variables, but it's still hard to do, is what kept me going back, even though I knew I would never be that person.
Nice.
We need more arcade games.
Definitely.
I bought Miss Pac-Man on Xbox.
Especially with Housemarque moving out of that scene.
Yeah, and that's such a shame. Going to Battle Royale. So
Yes, we should see how that Storm Divers. We'll see how that.
I'm gonna pan out well.
Let's move on to games we have played. And it's our top 5s now. Number 5. Oh, Aadil is smashing
the
number
bubbles?
5s towards me. My eyes are wide. Lucy, you're number 5.
God of War.
Move on. Yes, move on.
Ben, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Mutant Year Zero.
Oh.
A massively latecomer to my list. I only played it a few weeks ago. Regular listeners will have heard me speak about this last week and the week before, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. But it just, it's looking at my list. It is it comes in highest for any strategy game. I think it might be the only strategy game actually in my top 10. But it melds that tactical turn-based combat with that free roaming, that stealth sort of section so well. It feels like a tabletop game. We were talking about Knights of Pen and Paper.
Yeah,
it being that tabletop experience. This is kind of a tabletop experience in a very different way, and much more kind of, as we were kind of alluding to almost, as things like Baldur's Gate or XCOM and stuff like that kind of tries to do. Mutant Year Zero just melds those two kind of genres together really well, that it keeps it fresh the whole way through. It's not too long. It doesn't send you on crazy side quests. It's very slick and just works really, really well.
No, that's really good hit to hear, because you were looking forward to that game and didn't disappoint for you. It's just
no, not at all, not at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll probably use the term in the next 5 games or 4 games of personality, and it's the characters. They just you get a sense of their personalities through this.
That duck man looks weird.
They do look. They look weird.
I don't think he looks weird.
Duckman does.
From the Tortured Duckman looks weird because he doesn't really look like a duck.
Yeah,
he is voiced by Jason Alexander, so there's that. Also, if you've never watched Duckman, it has aged really poorly. Duckman's a horrible misogynist. but the cartoon
most
for a
things,
'90s thing is reasonably entertaining.
I'd rather watch other things like DuckTales and Count Duckett.
Let's move on, Aadil, to your... No, wait. Do we do Lucy's? Yes, we did.
Yeah, mine was
We
Move On.
moved on, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So, Aadil, your number 5, sir.
My number 5 is DuckTales. Woo woo. It's not. It's actually another. I mean, surprise, surprise. It's a game that I don't know if it came out this year, but I played it for the first time on the Switch this year. It's Golf Story.
Yeah!
Oh, nice.
Sorry, so good.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the stupid story and the very simple golf mechanics and how.
Hey, those get hard towards the end. You haven't
but like
into like wind direction. And I wasn't doing that for the entire game, so I was like, what?
So why I liked it a lot was that it was never really a golf game, but it like simulated golf in a reasonable way. And like you said, Lucy, it did ramp up, so you had to think of more quote unquote golf variables. But sorry, cat is peering on table. What kept you there was the silly story.
Yeah.
And I thought it did it really well, and like if you weren't into games, it would work really well. You could get through the game without sort of doing the golf right. And it's a silly, fun, easy to play game, and because of that, I finished it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because that's quite. It's probably about maybe took me 10, 12 hours, maybe I can't remember. But it skirts the line between this puzzle game, and if you want to get into it, like the golf parts, and by all means. But the art style is just great. It looks like classic 16-bit.
Well, it's a 16-bit like SNES RPG, which means it has like some JRPG elements in the sense of like how it works, but it's very accessible, and obviously you don't have like bullshit random encounters, etc. But like it worked really well with nostalgia and also being a newcomer, and it was accessible but not stupid easy.
Sure.
So like one of the things I would say like versus Lego City Undercover is like anyone can beat that game. And you need to play a little bit of the golf to beat this game. Yeah. But all you need is a little bit of it to get the story across.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to do the golf, you could still do it right. So like it scaled well without limiting the plot. And I found that really fruitful.
And I thought that it always kept the puzzles fresh, because it's like, there's only so many things we can do if, that center around golf. But they always manage to keep it fresh and exciting way up to the end. And best use of HD ROM to date.
Yeah.
Nice. Only available on Switch?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so I got no chance of playing it. That's fine.
Buy a damn Switch.
I could lend you my Switch
I've got a baby who eats fucking money. It's fine. Yes, I will, but we'll swap.
No, it's too late. You said you want to feed your baby money instead. I don't know why you want to do that, but that's your plan.
Let's move on quickly before you remember this.
And you'll feed your baby money when you borrow the Switch. That's fine. This is your choice.
Oh no! What a terrible mistake I've made. Let's move on to number 4's. Lucy.
4 is Return of the Overdin. No,
we've already moved on from that one.
Yeah, so this is where we talk about it.
I've lost track.
Exactly. Lucy, let's talk about Return of the Overdin.
I'll just lean back in my chair and pretend I haven't fucked it up.
It's one of those games where you wish you could experience all over again and just forget that you ever played it, like the first time round. It's just a geniusly made puzzle game. Mysterious, odd, quirky story where it's like, everybody on this boat dies in horrible ways. Figure out who they are and how they died. And I remember like playing a very short demo of this game years ago when Lucas Pope just put out, here's my concept for this new game, like see what you think. And I didn't know what to think at that point because it was just the very start of the game. But actually playing it and then seeing how over the top and crazy that story gets, and how intricately designed everything is. It's like everything is just comes together in such a perfect way where the puzzles make you feel like a genius, where it's like, no, this was absolutely intended to make you go along this certain route, this certain track to figure out these things. It's just, there's nothing else like it. There's nothing else like that game anywhere else on the market.
Completely. I love that it kind of eases you in that and because it's playing backwards. So the final chapter, the first sort of few names that you get, you kind of thinking to yourself, oh, okay, what happened on this ship? This is really intriguing. Kind of like these characters. You've got no idea who they are, and you can pinpoint maybe like 2 people perhaps in the first sort of sequence, and you're like, okay, what happens? And as it unfolds, you're like, fuck, where the fuck has this come from? Jeez. And it just builds on that really well, and as a whole, it's a super well crafted puzzle.
Brilliant.
Super well crafted story that must have taken so long for Lucas Pope to kind of chart out and then work it backwards and kind of work out where you're going to have those points. Like, just seems like he must have put so much into the crafting of this story and how it would unfold. Yeah,
nothing's coincidental in that game. Everything's there for purpose, and it's like there's so many ways that you can figure out these solutions. It's like, oh, I figured that out because this guy is wearing a turban, or this guy's got a certain weapon, and this is on his bunk bed, and there's so many different ways.
Sitting with these other people, like
or it's oh, he's standing next to this guy who's one of the captain's right-hand man, so he must be a midshipman or something like that.
Or his assistant or something like
So,
and
it's like, yes.
I would just say it's my most anticipated game I've missed this year because of the way you both talk about it.
You will love it, Aadil. Like, I don't know how you can play this and not like this game. Anybody?
No God of War, no Spider-Man. It's like this game is the one that, based on the way you guys both describe it and are effusive about it, I want to play. I own it. I've avoided it for my dissertation. That's the
as
game
you should.
That's the game I'm probably going to turn to first. If I'm perfectly honest, that's the game I want to play that I've avoided because I have other commitments.
That's why I don't want to say too much more on it. That is best experience when you know nothing.
Well, let's
no, we're not going to say anything else. But
you can experience it, and we can talk about it again when you do. My number 4. I expect the hand motion. My number 4 is Florence.
No, this one didn't make my list because I knew it would be on yours.
Ooh, I mean, this. I absolutely love this game.
Me too.
It tells such a.
That's a Lucy's Gamble.
Yes, high flying Lucy's Gamble. I think with that one. It tells such a brilliant, concise story that you want more from. Like, I think it ended at the right moment, but you're kind of sat there thinking, oh, I just want to know, just want to know what happens next. Gameplay wise, I think it works for a mobile platform perfectly. And again, it was the right length to not start to repeat those motions that you were doing. And it just gets so much. It just gets so much right that it doesn't have. At least I don't think it has any faults really.
No.
Super compelling and relatable story.
It's really accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's installed on my phone. I've just not engaged it for the reasons I just keep banging on about, which is just like, I don't want. I'm afraid of games. I mean, even games that like I know have good grounding and are short. I have an irrational fear of them because I need to finish this dissertation because it's taken me a million years. But at the same point, the ones that you guys have told me don't have this longevity are the ones I'm going to reach for first. That's why I've installed it on my phone, but I'm hesitant about reaching for it.
I think it's one that you know I'm in a my partner's just appeared, my wife's just appeared. Hello, I'm in a you know a great place currently.
You're only saying that because you see
Humble brag.
Even
It's not what you're saying.
This
Humble brag.
sorry,
Open
this,
the damn.
I mean, I'm trying to open a fucking bottle of champagne. That this story, even still, I'm sat there and it's
talking,
it's
just
so
concentrate on
relatable.
the thing you're failing
I
at.
know, we both
I can't get it. Get me a tea towel.
We're just
No.
Get me a tea
You
towel.
use your man girth.
I think I've got a glove here because it's so cold out here. I need to wear gloves when I type and click my fucking mouse. The story of Florence is just so fucking relatable. It just hits you.
Florence Nightingale.
No, Florence Nightingale. No, a game called Florence, which I've told you multiple times to play.
Yes, she should.
Fuck, I can't open that. You have to get a sword.
Yeah,
or
but
something.
as I say, it's like
Whoa.
very accessible. Like anybody can play it, and it shows.
Is it really
How-
tough?
It's really fucking in there.
I mean,
We've talked about genital jousting. We can't repeat
Yeah,
that one. Jeez.
but it just showcases like how good you can make a mobile game for that, and that like the tactile feel of it, and the puzzles, and how everything
Just coming
is centered around like the user. Like,
there we go.
hey,
Hey.
Move it away from the plugs.
Yeah, everyone stop. If you're not watching the video, that's fine. You missed the
Yes.
thing. Bye,
Yes.
Gim.
right.
Sorry,
Yes.
Lucy. Yes, accessible.
Yeah, accessible. Like everything centered about the user experience,
Yeah, completely.
like how it just ties in with that platform being on mobile and the touch interface so well. And throughout that game, I had a massive smile on my face. It's a very bittersweet story, but it was
Yeah.
so, as you say, relatable, engaging, and yeah, didn't stop smiling throughout that entire
Excellent.
playthrough.
Yeah, completely.
Wait, was that number 4?
That was number 4. Aadil, you're number 4, sir.
Yeah, I was just like, I can't remember which ones I've done.
it was free.
My 4 is again a game that I know Lucy has played, but it's a game I played this year. It's a game on the Nintendo Switch called Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh.
Very good game.
Because I bought it late and really liked it. I think my biggest complaint about the game is the real game happens post-plot.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's like,
It's
Yeah.
really weirdly designed in a way that
Mhm.
they didn't need to do.
yeah,
Like, the fun of that game is finding the things
yeah,
in the worlds, and the fact that
Yeah.
you don't need to do that to finish it is a weird disconnect.
yeah. It's
Um,
way too easy. The main story. It's like
Yeah, I mean-
you just walk and like there's a moon in front of you.
Yeah.
Yes, you can make it accessible for children. It's like they have settings in the setting,
Yeah,
in the
but the
menu
point-
where you can change that. But it's just,
So,
that is my
why?
biggest point with
Yeah,
that game.
why I like that game is because the actual challenges of finding the goddamn moons is really good. All of them.
Mm.
What I hate about that game is, I'm sorry, I grew up on goddamn Mario 1 through 3. Those
Same.
things were tough. I was a kid, I figured it out.
Yeah.
Take the baby gloves off. Like, no
Yes.
one needs to be walked through the plot of the game. The point of Mario games is getting a majority of whatever the collectible thing is,
Mhm.
at least in the post, like, Mario world. And finishing the game. But, like, splitting it in this way felt really weird because I think they were trying to say, like, oh, but we could just be like Mario 1, 2, 3, where it doesn't matter what you collect, you just finish the game if you finish the game. But also after the Mario World, it mattered like how many stars you finish the game. So why don't we do it this way? But you lose the fact that on Mario 1, 2, 3, it was hard.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
just finishing it was enough of an accomplishment. Here's
Sure.
how many points, coins, stars you have. And
Well-
then Mario World introduced the idea of you could finish it with a minimum of X or with a maximum of X, but you could still finish it. And this seems like a weird middle ground where they're like, we recognize that no one wants to collect all of the things, but also
Absolutely not.
we're going to
It's-
water down the thing.
Yeah, it felt
So-
like quantity over quality
Yeah.
with some of those moons. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the problem is that the approach fails on both ends. It fails on the initial plot.
I love how we're going through your top games and you're just criticizing.
Sorry, did you forget that I'm an asshole philosopher? I don't know how to analyze things to death.
No,
like,
but yeah,
the problem is that like it fails on the initial motivation because it's too easy, and then things just become nonsensical on the other side. While like on the original Mario games, there was a difficulty in finishing, and there was an added difficulty on adding the extra things, and then it became just, well, you can finish it whenever, but also we're just having arbitrarily large amount of stars that you just have to find.
Yeah, and the fact that you could only get some stars with motion controls, absolutely awful.
Yeah,
2 out of 10 game, awful.
Yeah.
But
Cat.
yeah, I mean,
having said all that,
it's...
I like those are critiques because it could have been so much better. Absolutely. I really enjoyed the game. I enjoyed finding the moons I found and some of the moons but because of that, I was just like, I am never going to look for all the moons.
Yeah,
in a way that like
it's a game
Mario World, in high school we had in the students' union room, we had an old fucking wood paneled CRT TV and a SNES and a Genesis attached. And in that last year of high school, me and a buddy of mine beat all 3 save files in Super Mario World with fucking all the 96 stars, because that's what you do. Because we valued that. And it was like, there's something different about, I mean, one, obviously my free time is different, but I do think that the pursuit of the 96 stars in Super Mario World was different from trying to finish all things in Super Mario, because some of them were just kind of like Portal 2, where it was just like, find the spot and then you'll figure out the puzzle. Rather than like a really like, there's some like gameplay deduction going on.
Yeah, what I will say about Super Mario Odyssey, like another game that features some of this, it constantly rewards exploration. Yeah, so like, even if you go off the beaten track, you may not find a moon, but it'll just give you some coins. You know?
That is true.
Always.
So that's why that's one of the reasons I really liked it, because the world felt really alive because of these reasons. That's why it's so high on my list. I have emphasized, but it's because mostly it's because it could have been so much more and it wasn't. But that doesn't mean it wasn't a real thing, right? Like, I recognize that it came out, I think, slightly before I played it. But it's a really fun ass game, and like one of the reasons why I would lend you the Switch, Ben, is because there's no other way to play this game, and it's really good so long as you understand that the game starts when you end the game.
So you need to invest a little bit of time in it to be able to get to that point where it opens up and it gives you a little bit more freedom.
Yeah, I mean the problem is like you can like Lucy was saying, the way to beat the game is a minimal amount of in your face. But the point of the game is that to get the others, moons, is really difficult. If you wanted to finish with all of the moons or close to all the moons, it will take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And what I like about this game is that a lot of those worlds really come alive when you, as Lucy said, explore it. Like, I think one of my favorite things in gaming this year was the city map in Mario Odyssey.
The New Donk City. Yeah,
I think it's so well done. I was really skeptical in like, how do you make a real life city with Mario dynamics? And I think they did that extremely well.
And just the climax of that level is so good.
Yeah, it's so well designed. The problem is that design isn't really beat the game, and then you're like, well, why isn't it needed to beat the game? Why don't you want people to live in this level
forever?
Why are you doing this? Do better.
Because it breaks the continuity of the Mario Mushroom Kingdom universe.
I think that's a good point to kind of move on. Move on from. We're down to our top threes, so that calls for our next beer.
Yes.
Lucy, you and I have obviously got the same beer. I'll let you tell us what it is and what it's got in it.
Okay. It's the hops version of the Trilogy. It's a Triple IPA. And it's in collaboration with Garage Beer Co. 9.5%. Oh, okay. I was thinking it'd be like 11.
That's what I thought when I read Triple, yeah.
9.5%.
Cat.
is that original gravity or something?
OG, yeah.
Yeah, 1.094 for whoever understands that. 9 EBC, 40 IBU. Hops are Citra, Equinox, Simcoe, and Columbus. Ingredients: malted barley, wheat, oats, spelt again, hops, and yeast.
Another spelty. Wait, we're all three spelty?
Yeah.
Yeah, they all
very
seem to have
spelty.
very similar. They all seem to have a very similar grain build.
I mean, I understand that because they weren't focusing on the grain necessarily, so it makes sense that the grain would be constant. I just spelt is it as a like we're trying to explore yeast, malt, hops. It's really interesting that they also put spelt, which is a non-standard grain, in all of them.
Yeah, I don't actually know what they're trying to accomplish with this thing.
Trilogy?
Like, yeah, like I think the beer 52 one, where it's like we're gonna do 2 exactly same beers but use different hops, different
Yeah,
yeast.
I mean, I
But-
really enjoyed that.
that box, yeah,
Yeah,
it was one of the better
Discovering
ones.
that, yeah. Whereas there's not many points of comparison between a brut, a sour, and a triple IPA. You know, it's like
Well, they all have
yes,
spelt.
they are IPAs. They all have spelt, but it's like I'm not, as someone who's not accomplished enough of a drinker or a brewer to know that difference.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
bit, yeah, for people like me.
I mean, I think they should rename it "How do you spell to IPA?"
I agree with you, Lucy. Aadil, what are you drinking?
Oh shit! Yeah, it is the Zenne-Like Belgian IPA.
Yes, I've had that one. Mm.
It's from Magic Rock and the Brasserie de la Senne. Its malts are Golden Promise and malted wheats. Its hops are Whole Leaf Sapphire, G90, Cascade and Calista, Cryo and Amarillo. The yeast is WLP 510 Baston Belgian Ale, and it is 6.5%. So it's a Belgian.
Cool.
It's a Belgian IPA. I sort of picked it basically on the IPA trend I knew you guys were on. But I thought it'd be interesting that we don't normally see a lot of Belgian IPAs because normally seem cross spectrum on your ales, at least in my opinion. Like it just seems like usually you, if you go in the Belgian traditional route, you aren't doing the big moves that people who brew IPAs tend to do. And so I thought, oh, I know you guys are doing something very interesting. The beer choice you have with Northern Monk. And I thought, what is interesting on the shelf? And this is what I came up with.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've had this beer. I can't
Yeah, as
remember
have I.
much about it, to be honest. It might
I
have been
remember
one
a
beer in a
little.
series of many. Yeah.
Yeah, I won't. I had it at the Bristol Craft Beer Festival,
Oh, right, okay.
and I won't. I'll say after you've had a taste and you've experienced it, rather than kind of clouding that. The hops, the Trilogy Hops Triple IPA. There is something in there that kind of clouds the flavour slightly. I don't know whether it's one of the hops that's giving a little bit of that kind of soapy taste to it. I'm getting it's not
See,
a
I got
massive
that.
amount on the nose.
Yeah, I was getting that soapiness in first bit. I'm not getting that in this one.
Okay. I mean, it starts off very kind of sweet,
Yes.
but has a slight herby nature to it as well. I think, kind of as it starts to fade, it's just got something that's kind of it's sat on my lips almost, rather than kind of like in my mouth. It's
I see what you're talking about with the soapiness, actually.
mm,
I'm getting, like, yes, you're very much getting the sweetness. It tastes a lot like light cheese to me. And it's got, like,
Yeah,
this kind
yeah.
of very dank, estery kind of flavour as well.
yes, yep.
But yeah, I can see what you're saying about the slightly kind of taste to it. I actually really, really like that. It's 9.5%, so you're definitely expecting some sweetness from the alcohol.
Definitely, yeah.
It's probably more sweet than I'd like, but
Mm-hmm.
the sweetness isn't too overbearing. But
Mm.
I don't know. I'm enjoying it. Like,
I mean, yeah, I'm
especially
enjoying it.
coming off that
Mhm.
that other crap.
Off
that
the
we
sour IPA, yeah.
This is like sweet nectar of the gods. It's like ambrosia compared to that. But yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it. I think that's
Nice.
9.5% kicking in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
nice.
Aadil, how about you?
I'm double checking the percentage. 6.5. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Mm.
What is it? Is it Zenne-Like? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's the Zenne-Like, depending on, say, Belgian Dutch way, but like, yeah, Zenne-Like.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's what it's probably called. So it's quite much more orange, quite cloudy. Not a lot of head. Really light nose, slightly sweet, slightly malty as well.
Yeah.
It's much deeper in taste than the other beers I've had. Not that surprising. The maltiness really comes through. It's got a light biscuitiness. I'm surprised that I thought it might have stronger hoppy flavor, I guess, because it's Belgian. It probably, that's what's sort of the style is not more IPA.
Getting those Belgian yeast tastes.
Very much so. So it's much more Belgian than IPA.
Yeah.
So you're getting those like, yeah, those like malty, biscuity flavors. I think the IPA-ness is probably IPA-ness is probably it's probably more on the fact that it's bitter on the finish.
Yeah.
Again, not a lot going on outside of that malty bitterness. Sort of thought maybe there'd be more nuance to the beer. It's very much like almost like a oatmeal biscuitiness, and then it finishes with a strong generic hoppy bitterness. Like, I'm not getting any specific taste. It's just like, oh, this is hoppy in the end.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. From what I can remember, yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just I guess being an Belgian IPA, I was kind of expecting maybe a broader spectrum of taste.
Yeah.
And this is much more like a Belgian ale that has lingering generic hoppy taste.
Yeah. Sure. I can't. Gosh, who was it? I can't remember, but I had like it might have been, like, it was somebody, but it was like Belgian, like, I think it was Cloudwater. Yeah, it was Cloudwater. It was one of them more recent ones. I think it might have been some series or something like that. It was Belgian, like, IPA or something. But yeah, it was like, because I can very much tell, like, a Cloudwater nowadays.
Yeah, I mean,
that very classical Cloudwater yeast that they use.
Yeah.
But the Belgian yeast that they use, it just tastes so good, so good. Yeah. Anyway.
Nice. So, our top threes of 2018. Lucy. Number 3.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Moving on.
Moving on.
It's a terrible game. That's why I'm moving on. Awful.
Moving on.
Yes.
My third pick is God of War.
Yes,
we made it.
You want to talk about it now?
Yeah, what a game.
Yeah.
It's the game that I've always come back to, like, thinking about this year.
Okay.
I still listen to the soundtrack.
Yes.
Like, it's one of those games where it's like, the reason it was number 5 for me. Yes. The reason it was number 5 for me is because we'll talk about Red Dead Redemption later, but Red Dead Redemption is higher for me because it's like God of War is something I'll always come back to thinking about this year. Red Dead Redemption 2 is something I'll always think about for like years. Right, I'll have forgotten about God of War in 5 years. Red Dead Redemption 2 will stay with me. So, but yeah, God of War is incredible. Like, I'm so glad it won like Game of the Year. It was always going to, but like at the game
Yeah,
and
completely.
stuff like that. It is. I think it's greater than the sum of its parts. I have some minor complaints about it, but this is. I'm not going to be a deal.
You don't like this.
I'm not going to.
Because he's the minor.
No, Atreus is alright. Atreus is alright. But as it's top games of the year, I'm not going to spend too much on its criticisms, like how it's too easy, how the
how it has
travel
parts
thing
in
is
that,
crap.
how it has parts in that you don't really need to do or
Yeah.
experience, really, but they make you do it anyway.
And it's a bit dragging at the end, like, and
Slightly,
not enough,
slightly.
not
And
enough
even
enemy
possibly-
variation. It's like
And
it's
an epic. It's an epic. I
It's-
think. So
yes.
with that, you get a few issues surrounding that parts slightly drag, or you're sent somewhere to do something that maybe you don't feel that you really that it's necessary. But as a whole,
Yes.
it's written very, very well, and I absolutely love that changing dynamic between Kratos and Atreus, and the way that relationship kind of evolved from this very standoffish, not been around kind of father figure, and how he evolves as a character. You know, he's like almost toxic masculinity personified, and how actually that kind of breaks a little bit, not maybe as much as I kind of would have liked it to, but that does break to allow a relationship between the two characters and to change the dynamic up. For me, it's definitely up there because of it's like its exposition as well. Things like Mimir constantly giving you background and flavor and narrating you through what you're doing, like such a well written character that it just kind of drives you forward between just we've landed here on this like outcropping of rocks, we've got to fight this troll, you get back in the boat and Mimir will give you a story, and then you'll move through to the next section, and that writing links up what you're doing so well. But also it's out of all of the games I played, the combat in this is so satisfying. It just has such a weight to it that you know when you recall that exactly that when you recall that axe, it just goes in your fucking hand. You're just like, yes, that is exactly what I want. And it builds on that, of course, with further reveals and stuff through the game. But it just feels really good, and it's an overall package. It's so incredible. Well produced, so well made.
It looks great. The combat's incredible. The story is brilliant. The level design is good. The sound design is good. Just everything comes into that. Everything works, and as I say, greater than some of its parts. Everything just creates a complete package, and it is just a wonderful experience. It is one of the. It is one of the most well-crafted games of the year. It's like a lot of things it just doesn't compare. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 has many flaws, you know, whereas this only has a few, and it's just incredible amount of work from Sony Santa Monica, and it's like they made me care about a character that I had no. I've played the previous God of War games, but I just didn't really care that much.
Sure.
I owned them on PS3 and various things. Never ended up playing them, and then ended up selling them the discs off because
and
something about the gameplay was interesting, but not enough to grab.
Yeah, I don't really like character action games that much, but I think God of War did a good job at it. But
so this is from reviews and you guys. It was like, oh, this seems like it's more than just Heavenly Sword with male dudes.
and Ben, you were talking about
I liked Heavenly Sword, and then I almost finished the game. Didn't actually finish the game, and then when God of War came out, it was like it's more of this. And it was like, cool. I don't necessarily want this specific gameplay dynamic, so maybe I'll take a pass. And then on multiple sequels, it was like, And this is a time where this series seems to have actually grounded itself in story and gameplay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then
it was like, I want to know.
you were talking about like toxic masculinity. I was just like, I God of War made me feel like a badass. It's like,
Yes.
it still had that kind of power fantasy kind of.
Oh,
thing.
definitely. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
was
think it
just
needs
like,
that,
yeah,
otherwise the series has failed.
I want to be cut like Kratos.
I mean,
Just great.
one of the
I just
reasons
felt like
I'm
a badass playing it, and I
Yeah,
love games that
definitely,
do that.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn did that for me last year. I
Yeah.
just felt like a badass play.
awesome.
Nice.
I
Aadil,
think it's
it's you, sir. We've moved on to your number 3.
it's a little game called Celeste.
Ooh. Move on. Move
Okay.
Oh, Celeste.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you moved well on.
Move on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I thought that was the case. But I mean, let's just revel in the fact that I played a game that you guys should about.
Perfect.
Because my list has been old games and then weird games, and it was like, I know a game that is definitely in my top 5 that you guys definitely have ranked probably higher because you played more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like up to now, it's like, yes, Aadil, we played that game.
Oh, what number are we on? This is your
3.
third.
This is number
my third.
3. This
Let's
is
talk about
Aadil's
it
number 3.
because I'm moving on to 2, and Celeste is my number 2.
Is it your number 2?
Ooh, It's
Yes.
also my number 2. Yeah.
There
Well,
we go. Cool.
there you go.
That is an excellent segue. My 3.
The hell
your
is
2.
Ben's number 1? And I don't know.
I know what it is.
Of course, mate.
Do
Anyway.
I know? I'm gonna be
Yeah,
like, oh
you
yeah,
know.
of course it is. But
Come on.
Okay, so Celeste, let's talk about it. I only
oh
played a
yes, I know what it is.
handful
Celeste, yes. Talk
Yeah,
about
Celeste,
Celeste.
yeah.
Sorry, Aadil. What did you say, sir?
I only played a handful of hours. It's the game. It honestly, of the games I've played and wanted to go back to and have heard a lot about, it's a game I want to finish myself.
Yeah.
I didn't go back to it. So I had a 5 to 10 hour thrust of like, oh, okay, everyone loves this game, and then the reason I didn't go back to it because it was like, I want to do this well. Do this well because it fucking matters because this game is great.
I need those strawberries.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like, I don't want... So, like, the stupid completionist in me, especially as a person who doesn't have a lot of time for games,
Don't get the
was like,
strawberries.
I need to get
There's no way.
all of the strawberries. I need to pun it
Nah.
at the end of the game. Pun it
Nah.
strawberries.
No.
And I returned to the game a couple times this year where I was like, don't worry about it, just like get further, understand the game. And that just made me love the game more. But it also made me want to be like, I want to be the guy who can finish all of the strawberries.
That's impossible.
I know, but
And then go to like the B sides, and then it's just like,
yeah.
definitely impossible. No,
I
the
fucking
best
love
feeling
this game because it does difficulty really
Yeah,
well.
this is the
So
reason it features
fucking
so highly
well.
for me. Like it ramps up that difficulty so well that it's not making you learn new abilities. It's just changing up the environment for you, that you have to adapt with what you have to a new circumstance. I think that's done so well, and I cannot think of another example where that is kind of the case in this like linear platform kind of progression style. So it's like, you know, when you move to the set of levels where the wind kicks in, you're like, fuck, right, okay, now I've kind of just got to, I know what I'm doing, but I've got to work it out versus this new force that's coming into the space. And it does that almost on every single stage. And, you know, we're going, skirting over the idea that the mountain kind of is the physical embodiment of what's going on in the story.
Yes.
That whole, like, when you get there, Aadil, that finishing sequence to this game just works so well.
Yeah.
It brings everything back together that you've experienced and makes you kind
it's
of do everything
brilliant.
that it is so good. It's so
It's like
good.
you just think, why has nobody done this before? Because it's a perfect allegory for like men.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like that,
Completely.
and it's like you look at the level, like they're very bite-sized, like little sections to the game
Mm.
before a checkpoint hits
Yeah.
in. Like, thank God, because the game's up.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say,
it's-
that's one of the
checkpoints well.
reasons why I could play it so much was because I wasn't giving a lot of time to games. Obvious reasons, blah blah blah, and so I could just progress on these like incremental moves
yeah,
and continue
as
to
you say,
play
yeah.
it over the year. While other games where it would be very much the case that you would have to just live in the game for a certain amount of time, which I might not have had.
Yeah, and it's like you look at these like mini sections, like everything is laid out in the bigger ones. You can usually there's like these like this telescope where you can look into and it like shows you the layout of the level, and every single time you're like, there's no way I can do this. There's no way. And then when you work it out and do it, it's the best feeling ever.
Yeah, completely.
And yeah, that ties so well in with the overall narrative of the game.
Yeah.
What a game that is. And it's actually free with Games with Gold in January.
Really?
Yes,
so
I
I
did
shall
read that
be
today.
replaying that. So good.
Excellent.
So
I guess,
that is the best game to come out in 2018. for
was
me.
that your number one or your number two?
Ooh,
That's my
what's
number two.
Lucy's number one then?
Something that didn't come out this year.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get on to that, so my three was both of your twos. The only
yes.
reason my two is my two and not my three
Yes.
is because of the amount of time I spent with it.
Okay.
So I don't think this is necessarily a superior game to Celeste.
Right.
Like, it was really dicey which one was two and which one was three, and I say that because we all picked Celeste as two, essentially.
Yes.
It's the Magic the Gathering arena game, and it's just a nostalgia push. And why I was like, I don't know if I really want this as number two was because I played it in open closed beta and then open beta, and I lost all the cards, and the whole game is predicated on making your own deck and figuring that out. But I did spend way more time with this game.
And as
I
you
came
kind of
back to
attested to last week, it's a game that you've returned to
Yeah.
when you've had that short break, when you know you've got 10, 15 minutes to play something, you've returned to that game.
Including, like, now I'm in the closed beta where I have none of the cards, and I'm still playing games with the starter decks and trying to beat people because I like Magic enough. And so that's why it sort of moved up ahead of Celeste, was because even though I lost the cards and the build up, it was still like, actually, even if I'm probably going to lose because I don't have the requisite arsenal, I'm still going to want to play this game because I enjoy this. But a lot of that has to do with me enjoying Magic the Gathering, and this is a vector of it.
Yeah.
So it's like a very tight 2-3. Because so the reason why MTG Arena is number two, even though it's in a beta, is because I actually like the dynamics of that game and the strategy and the construction enough that even when I lost all my strategic moves because of the move from closed beta to open beta, and then didn't have any of these cards, I still wanted to play it, and I was still trying to play people the bullshit shitty initial decks. Shit, I like this dynamic. But just says that, like, I like this dynamic if it's on the table or if it's on the screen. And what Magic the Gathering Arena does really well is translate the tabletop experience to the screen.
Yeah. That's fair. Nice.
So one of the things I haven't talked about is, like, I've played Eternal in the past month, which is one of the newer sort of card games, and it is a card game, but it recognizes what you can, like, get away with because it's digital versus physical. And it does that in a better way than Magic. And that made me realize that, like, oh, there are things this could do better. I don't think this game does it particularly better than Magic the Gathering, but it's like, oh, there's clearly improvements that could happen.
Sure.
But I'm just so used to this paradigm that I don't care that they're doing it inefficiently.
Yeah.
That's fair.
No, that's good.
So-
I think that's fitting that it's so high on your list because
Definitely.
that's something you always came back to.
Yeah, it's just a nostalgia push, and also, like, it... To be honest, I've played some of the precursor Magic games, and they're not as good. And this actually really feels like playing the tabletop game. Like,
Yeah.
have the right like flow of moves, and it feels like you're doing the exact same thing as when you're across a table with someone. That's why I like Magic the Gathering Arena. I don't think it's the best thing, but I do really like it, and it's my wheelhouse. So that's why it pushed ahead of Celeste. But honestly, it was really tough because one was like a really unique, innovative game that gave me a platform that was familiar, but did it in really interesting ways. Like you said, it's the same moves, but the world moves around you instead of you adding moves to move around the world. And I think that's fucking fantastic.
Nice.
Very clearly a great game.
Good.
Why I like Magic was because I played it more.
That's fair.
That's fine. Fair. You don't have to explain yourself.
So he has, but so on to the best things for us of the year, and in the here we go. It's coming back.
And she's blowing up.
That's a decent amount of bubbles. To lead in, Lucy.
Yes.
With your number one.
One of the best games ever made. And it doesn't matter that it came out in 2017 originally.
Yeah, that's what
I played
I know what you're gonna say.
I played it on Switch this year, and it's
It's what? Sorry, you literally cut out. I have no idea.
Right. Hollow Knight.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I was just like, I have no idea what she said. I'm pretty sure it's Hollow Knight.
Yeah, it's like it's hard to overcome nostalgia in what you consider your favorite games of all time is. Like Super Metroid is up there. I don't know. I don't know if it's better than Super Metroid. It probably isn't. But to even have that conversation with, like, I don't know, 24 years worth of nostalgia behind Super Metroid just shows like how good Hollow Knight is.
Yeah,
it's.
I will just put in that it didn't feature on my list because I just haven't put enough time into it yet.
So I bought it on Steam, and the reason I'm with I know that I want to like sink into it.
Yeah, it's a Metroidvania, and for me, Metroidvania is always the best. So it's no surprise that it's going to be way up there for me. Yeah, and just everything from the abstract story to the art style to the gameplay to the combat to it's one of those games where you just feel completely isolated and lost in, and those are that's what Metroid is. Just being in this weird, planet where the alien space, and it's like you're alone. You don't know what's around the next corner. That just whole sense of discovery and that sense of isolation, Hollow Knight absolutely nails completely. Right. And there's so much variety, like the enemies that you encounter, the different biomes that you go to, and I know people have complaints of like, oh yeah, the fast travel's not too good, or nothing's, you're not directed in a certain way. Some don't know where you're going. It's like that's the brilliance of it, because sometimes you can get you can stumble across something where it's like, I don't even need to beat this boss, but I know it's there. I want to beat them. It's like it's just so good. There's nothing else to really say about this game.
That's fair. Like I've got to a point in it where I've come up against a boss which is 3 guys on giant thrones, and I fought. One of them jumps down and starts to fight you, and it's so quick that I just wasn't prepared for it at all. Wasn't prepared for that jump in speed. The general kind of grunts around that area, they're not super fast, and you can kind of defeat them. You learn the pattern of what they're doing, and I assume it would be the same with this. You learn the pattern of what that boss is doing to be able to defeat them. But I kind of got to that point, and I died on that boss very quickly. That I'm like, okay, I've got stuff to do. I'll put it down here.
Yeah,
and I just haven't quite gone back.
Yeah, it does get punishing. People say it's very hard and like Dark Souls kind of hard. I think because I'm just good at like platformers and 2D games. I didn't find it as hard as people have said.
I don't know whether it's part of the the fact that you collect spirits or or whatever it is that drops from the creatures. You collect those, and if you die, a copy of you is created, and you have to go back to kill it to get all of your your currency back, essentially. That people are drawing that Dark Souls kind of comparison to it.
I guess,
and I don't know, I think that's kind of maybe where people have picked that up from, rather than people being like, oh, Dark Souls is a difficult game. There's tons of difficult games. I think perhaps for Hollow Knight, it is just that it's that Souls collection type thing. Like, you're rewarded for going back to where you died, defeating your kind of your spirit, to be able to collect those and then move on from it. I think it's a bit of an unfair kind of comparison almost.
But yeah, when people are like, oh, I couldn't even get past the first boss. Really? Just try the Colosseum of Fools or whatever it is at the very end.
Yeah.
Where it's literally just horde mode of enemies at the end.
Shit, really?
And it's like, and you're in... Oh, it's so good. But there's like so many optional things that you do or do not have to do, and it's like just discovering everything. Like, it's just one of those games, man. It's like...
I have it. I mean, I think it's Humble probably that I have it on the PC, and that's the reason why I didn't buy it on the Switch, even though I think it's probably a better medium.
It's the best play to play it, to be honest. It's like I bought it on Xbox and I started playing it again, and just falling in love with it like all over again. But the Switch is the place to play it, honestly.
But like, I think you can probably, if you are if you have a controller and you have a PC and you can afford
it's a fine place to play it. Yeah, that's where
that's how
it's where it started. That's where it was. Last year.
And so, like, I'm really looking forward to giving some time to that game because of the art style and the gameplay and the fact that, like, the stupid completionist in me is like, I don't want to. So
there's no way you can complete this game.
Right. But like the Souls games are problematic because I, up until recently, owned Demon Souls on the PS3 and had a PS3, and then I was like, I should do that before I do Dark Souls, before I do blah. But I own Dark Souls 1, 2, 3 on PC, and it was like, oh, maybe it doesn't matter. I'm really trying to figure that out. But like, Hollow Knight seems like, because it's not attached to that stupid franchise and my stupid inability to like not view a franchise as
like
I need to do, it seems like the right move for me to be able to play this type of game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, it's not for everyone, but I absolutely.
I completely agree.
I think it's
for everyone. People will bounce off of this quite hard. I think.
Yeah. And it's like it just makes me die inside some of those criticisms. People are like, oh, what? The art is amazing. The animation is amazing. All these little bug creatures are amazing.
They are very good. Yeah. I do like, there's a certain part where you kind of, I can't remember what it's called, but you move through an area which is full of like jellyfish.
I hate that place.
They don't actually give you that much. They don't give you anything. And I don't know whether it's just a transitory space.
Never kill the jellyfish. They will come at you.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
They will come at you and they will F you up.
Beds.
Yes. So, people bouncing off of a game leads quite well into my number one, which is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Wait.
A lot of people aren't that enthused by this, or they haven't bought into this game quite so much. And I don't know whether that's a legacy of Red Dead Redemption, which didn't do anywhere near the kind of numbers that the GTA did before it, and then GTA 4 did after it.
Which is why they never brought it to other platforms. I'm so still sad that Red Dead Redemption 1 never came to PC because
Just play it on Xbox One. Just play.
I don't own an Xbox One. I sold it because I needed to
and
afford
that's
to
your
live.
fault.
I
Could have
still own a
lived
PS4.
in a box with your
Lucy,
Xbox.
I still
Play it on
own
PS
a
now,
PS4.
The original
So
Xbox One is big enough to live inside of.
my point is, I can probably afford a version. I own on PS4 Red Dead Revolver, and if I can get a
God.
disc for Red Dead Redemption that's multiplayer, I also still own a PS3. It's just,
That's true. You can just get it. Just buy it for PS3. You'll be
but
fine.
like, I hate that there's this landmark
on a
game that
PS3.
I don't have access to.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. So Red Dead 2, which I have spoken about at length over the past few weeks. It just is a game that drew me in so much, and I think that the thing that kind of turned it for me was that I was playing all of these games. Spider-Man, I played Doom this year, Wolfenstein 2, everything I played.
You played Doom this year? Oh.
Yeah. Well,
You only play
again.
Can we just talk about Doom?
I played
Screw
Doom
it.
again.
Oh, right, okay.
Everything I've kind of played this year was almost of like a certain speed, and Red Dead Redemption just stripped all of that back and slowed down the pace so much that I'm sat there playing it thinking, this is exactly what I want. I just want something that is very considered, very slow moving, that I don't have a sense of urgency to. And there are certain missions and certain areas where you are kind of thrust into what you're doing, but I think they're well contained within each kind of mission or within a camp. So the game expands massively as you kind of uncover and go to new camps. And I think that it paces itself very well, but that pace is very slow. And
Right.
I wanted that. I didn't know I wanted that at all. But the more I played it, the more I realized that is what I wanted. And it appealed to me on that level, on a narrative level, on a character development level, on an acting level. Like, there's so much about this game which kind of just all pulls together to make it such a fantastic experience.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I think people get stuck on. I think people get stuck on that pacing issue so much.
well, for me, it was like I didn't like that. I was like, I don't like this game. That's how I felt like at the start. I was like, I don't like it. This is incredible because this is the first Rockstar game that I disliked. It's like, and then I understood, like, the game wants you to play that way. It wants to slow the pace down, and I just wasn't expecting that, especially from a Rockstar game where it's like instant gratification, like power fantasy, killing everybody in sight, no consequence to anything that you're doing as such. You in any GTA game you can get you can get a 5-star wanted level and just hide in a street alley and that's it. And it's like, there's no consequence to it. It's
I think
game is different.
It is different, and I think it fits the Western very well.
Absolutely.
You think of fantastic Western movies. It is not all high action all the time. You have those slow moments. You have that
for sure
build up. You have those narratives.
Yes.
And those.
So the Sergio Leone movies, Fistful of Dollars, Few Dollar More, Good, Bad, the Ugly. What makes those movies really exceptional is the downtime.
Yeah.
Like it's just it is a case. Like it's just you cannot acknowledge these movies without recognizing that it's about the man with no name being seeped into the town.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
So having not played Red Dead Redemption, what you are describing is literally what grounds my favorite westerns.
Yep.
Yeah, there are some slow times.
The
slow,
point is
quiet
slow times are needed because that gives poignancy to the fast times.
Completely.
And I have not played this game. I'm just saying this is what makes this is the crucial Western dynamic.
Yeah, and it's what makes this game. It fits that genre so well. that they've.
I
they
mean,
must
that's
have
why
just-
I've been avoiding it, but also really want to play it. I
Mm.
mean, to be honest, if what I really want is them to come out with a PC version, not just because of mods, but because that's my primary like platform, but also because of mods. Like I want to play this game where people may have inserted Thomas the Tank Engine or dragons. I'm just gonna be honest. I think that's hilarious.
It's
Let's
coming.
do
It's
that.
definitely coming, right? I would imagine
Right,
so.
no, but it's not though, because like Rockstar has really been harsh on GTA 5 on mods and what is allowed and what isn't allowed. So even to play their stupid online multiplayer nonsense, they've said you can't have any stupid mods going on.
Yeah.
And that sucks because what makes GTA 5 really fun is the fact that the world has this like flexibility, and so when it's in the PC sphere, you can do all kinds of stupid nonsense that they haven't thought of. But what Rockstar is saying is that stupid nonsense is not allowed, and you'll be banned from our service. So you map that to the Western, and it's the same.
Yeah, I would imagine so. But I would imagine that the single player experience, or the whole experience, is probably coming to PC
So
based
can
on
I ask-
numbers.
can I ask both of you, have you played the multiplayer?
I've played a little bit, yes.
It's just so. It's the antithesis of everything I believe about that game,
Okay, completely. It's
an
exactly what I didn't want.
isolating, like kind of. I'm going on this adventure on my own as, like, I'm peeking around every corner of this well-crafted
Yep.
universe. It sometimes turns into like a bit of a horror game at times, where it's like, oh, I'm in the depths of the bayou at night. Everything's misty. I can't
Right.
see what. There's a hanging corpse in front of me. What is that? Or it's like, I just stumble into this house and it's home and the dead, rotting corpses of this family. It's like,
Right.
Yeah.
happened, and just like the music and the score like ties in with those
Completely.
things
And
so
it makes you want to know what happened as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
and it's like all environmental storytelling. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes you get like an odd letter or something like that just clues you into like, oh, this is what this family was. And some of these things, what I love about this game is like you need a few years behind you, a few notches on your belt to stand.
Right.
Like, this is not the overall power fantasy like most GTA games
Completely.
are.
Oh, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. You
There's
need to
sorrow
understand
to this
yeah.
game, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of life ain't fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I guess
completely.
my worry is that in the multiplayer,
Mm.
necessarily you lose that nuance.
Oh,
Yes,
you do
I think
completely.
you absolutely
Exactly.
would. That's why I don't want to go near it.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm not a multiplayer fan anyway. But it's like,
I played it for a very small amount, and I just wasn't
Yeah.
taken with it
Yeah.
at all.
like
You didn't have a specific set of skills.
that's funny. But the whole thing about this game is like there's so much that is deeply flawed about this game. So deeply flawed, like the contextual controls,
Yeah.
the pacing of the story, but overall, like where I forgive it for its downfalls is completely because of the narrative.
Right.
It's like this is the most poignant narrative in definitely a Rockstar game, but like most
Most
games
games.
ever
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
completely.
I've
I
played.
mean,
And
that's exactly why I want to just play this game.
yeah,
Because all I've heard is this is one of the few video games which is true to what is it to be a narrative. And by
Yeah,
that
and-
I mean
yeah.
like
right.
we have narratives in video games, but we haven't explored what it means for that balance of narrative versus gameplay.
Especially in an
And-
open world game.
Yeah,
Mm.
and so
So
like
hard to do.
yeah,
but it-
exactly. And it's like I love narratives. That's
Mhm.
one of the things I've literally done academic research on. Like I care about narratives, and if you can figure out how to give a dynamic open world approach yet still have
Mhm.
some sort of a grounded narrative,
Mm.
I want to know how you did that.
Yeah, I don't know how they did, to be honest. You could sit me down for like hours and hours and you'd try pull apart all these things, like
Yeah.
how every stupid, crappy system there is in the game, there's a narrative connection to that, and everything. When something like I'm not going to spoil it too much, but when the camp breaks down and everything just dissolves into madness, it's like...
Which we know is going to be a move. That's
yeah. And Aadil, please, can you...
Okay, yeah. Just tell me when to stop. I can't hear you, so you have to...
Okay, anyone who hasn't played this game, like, Arthur dies at the end. And it's crushing.
You as
I've drunk so much that it's hitting me now.
And so someone
it's like
put things
the
back
fact that it is a massive. Dude, jump! It is a massive. It's a massive point, and it's a massive part that it is so super hitting. It really,
I'm still mourning him. I can't play that game as John. I don't care about John.
But I was walking through. I was traversing through the world as John, and I'm like, oh shit! I didn't realize that there were graves, and I could go into the grave.
I don't want it.
That is when it hit me. Yeah. That is really when I'm just like, fuck. There was this character that I really felt for, that I was just super invested in.
Yes.
And that's it. That's it. The story's
gone.
done.
Yeah, it's like, it should have rolled credits when, I'm sure you got the good ending when he sees it in the...
Yes.
You know, he's there at sunrise and he takes his last breath, and I was like... I was already, like, choking up when he was saying bye to, like, Miss Tilly and Jack. And then when that happened, I think the game should have, like... This is one of my biggest complaints. It's like, credits should have rolled there. They should have let that sit.
I agree.
The John epilogue should have been DLC. 3 months, fine. But the fact that the next day, I kept thinking about it, and I cried ugly tears driving to work. I was like sobbing, like Arthur was real. I was sobbing. I was like,
it is hitting. It is hitting. Right, let's bring him back. Let's bring him back.
Let's bring him back.
He's not even looking at his screen. Yeah. He's not looking. He doesn't see the taunts.
Yes.
Hello.
I enjoyed the
slight reprieve. Yeah. The callback. So we'll move on from Red Dead Redemption 2. Aadil.
Yes, I want to hear about this game.
For your number one game of 2018.
Convince me. Buy it. Convince me to buy it, because I'm a baby and I can't play hard games.
I know you know what the game is.
Yes.
Ben, what do you think this game is?
Seems like something that might have a bit of strategy to it.
I think it's into some kind kind of
Nah, fuck you. Yeah,
breaking through a wall.
No, it's fine. You clearly both know.
It's Call of Duty.
Definitely.
You put the charges on the door. You wait.
I mean, I was literally like, if you guys didn't deploy these moves, I was gonna say FIFA 2018 and just see what you did. But
just instant headphones out, walk out the door. Just go.
Yeah, it's Into the Breach. It's a fantastic, fucking great game. While it came out in February 2018, it's a strategy RPG up my alley. But also, what really makes it fantastic is the fact that you don't need to care about strategy RPGs. It's literally just set puzzles.
Yeah.
It's a puzzle game in the guise of a strategy RPG. That's why I like it so much. Because if you don't care about SRPGs, that's fine. The point is, you have these moves and they're randomly generated, like the map's randomly generated, but it's literally just how do you adapt these moves? And then if you progress further along, you get unlocked more. Just, okay, now the puzzle is slightly different. How do you solve the puzzle? So even if you don't care about like Mutant Year Zero, XCOM style SRPGs, you can still play Into the Breach fine, because it's just, these are moves you're allowed. It's a randomly generated map that is based on these moves being applicable. So X. And then you go to the next level and you're like, you have X and Y. And so it really doesn't matter if you care about strategy RPGs, because it's all individual puzzles in a way that like XCOM, Mutant Zero are about like longevity of your characters, etc. This is a game that's just puzzle solving in this paradigm of strategy RPG.
Nice.
So if you like puzzle games, you will like this game.
Okay, I'm gonna buy this now.
Yeah, I mean,
You've just sold me with that pitch.
Steam sale, Steam sale, Steam sale.
But I
It
really
is like-
mean it.
I want to
is
buy it on
because
Switch.
no, but like what makes it really good is the fact that you don't because like there's this time loop dynamic of if you fuck up everything, you can. So pilots have skills and like mechs or like units have skills, but when you reset the timeline, basically you're saying I fucked this up, I will try again. You can preserve one of your 3 pilots.
Okay.
That pilot will have a certain set of skills.
Taken.
Yeah. And so the point is like, but what you can do is like, even if you've been like banging your head against like set of maps, you can switch the pilot who you're preserving. It is a puzzle game. Like why I love Into the Breach is because it's a puzzle game at its heart. Yeah. But like to understand the puzzle, it helps if you know how strategy RPGs work. But if you don't, you'll learn that really quickly.
Okay.
Because it's like either you know what these are, so this pilot will clearly be the best one, or you reboot a couple of times and you figure out this pilot's worth preserving. That's it. It's just a puzzle game, and then what makes you able to progress through the islands of the game is getting better with your set of mechs, which means understanding the dynamics of the puzzle. If you just take the stock, like, here's our first fleet, then you unlock another fleet, etc., you won't progress as well, versus like saying, I want this mech from Fleet 1 and this mech from Fleet 2, and then you're doing a thing that's you and your reasoning, and that's what makes this game really fun, is like, I'm making it like my own team because I know how to solve the generic puzzles of this game with respect to this person and their moves and this person and their moves. So my approach will be very unique. Yeah. And it's great. It's
nice.
Fucking great.
You've sold me. Yeah.
If you haven't bought this game, you should buy this game.
I was waiting for a sale on. I knew it would come to Switch, and that was like, just waiting for a sale. It was on sale during the Game Awards only in the US because Nintendo are failures at everything. And then, but I'm just gonna buy it.
No, I mean, I honestly think even if you don't like strategy games,
I hate them.
Why I like this game so much is because it's really a puzzle-solving game in the SRPG paradigm.
And I love puzzle games.
Puzzle games are really fun. Everyone wants to play them, and it's just like, how do I figure out what the nuance of this is? Yes. But also, what comes out of that is, oh, I might actually like SRPGs now that I've figured out.
That's not going to happen.
You might, Lucy. You might.
I think you might.
I bought Bad North as a like baby's first RPG kind of not strategy like game, like RPG. Just in anticipation of like I want to build myself up to Into the Breach because it looks fantastic.
So good.
And now that you've said that it's basically a puzzle game that I can play, I'm gonna buy it.
But so FTL had a similar like spike of audience. Because it turns out FTL is really just a puzzle game in this sort of dynamic of like resource management.
Okay.
And it's the same company, and they're literally saying, hey, even if you don't care about this gameplay dynamic, you might care about it in this sense because we've made it just puzzle solving.
Yeah.
But like, if you enjoy Into the Breach, like, what's that? Banner Saga 1 is a very good game.
Yeah.
If you've never played SRPGs, you might think Banner Saga is kind of a shitty game, right? But if there's some parts of Into the Breach you like, then you can understand like the plot and gameplay of Banner Saga lead you to the same type of problem.
It opens it up for you and then pushes you more into that sort of genre. Yeah.
Exactly. Why I love Into the Breach is because you don't need to give a shit about this generic gameplay, but you will absorb this generic gameplay because it's it guides you in a really strong sense to how to solve this type of puzzle. But what that means after the fact is there's a whole area of games where you're like, I didn't think I cared about it, but also if I can solve these into the breach puzzles, I can solve these other puzzles.
Yeah.
Well, this time next year, I'll be like, you know what? XCOM is the best game I've ever played because this is
Top
the
10, just all strategy games.
Yeah.
I mean,
Straight
so
through.
SRPGs are one of my favorite like genres, but why Into the Breach? Because it makes it super accessible in a way that you could just ignore the rest of the genre, or you could embrace it. It's literally like puzzle solving with this thing, and that's really tough. It's like giving a gameplay dynamic without saying you need to commit to it, and it does it so well.
I'm gonna buy it.
Good.
I'm gonna buy it tonight. You
Fucking get
convinced
that
me,
game.
sir.
Very good endorsement. For
You
that
should.
game.
You should sell things.
So it's a good place to finish. We're almost at 3 hours.
No, really?
Yeah, probably.
To
Yeah.
run through our honourable mentions and our top 10s for the year. Hooray for the Rebels! So we will very swiftly finish this week on the beers for each of us.
What I would also like to do,
Oh shit.
if you like,
Oh.
say what your
Is you lot as the audience
beer-
or is it us?
you two
Oh fuck.
say what
That's
your
even
favorite
worse.
beer is, because we
Today?
are a beer and video games podcast.
From the year.
No, not
from
today.
The,
From the year, if you can
from the
remember.
year. It's a difficult
No,
one. I
You
mean,
can't spring that on me.
I thought we discussed it.
we did
we
discuss
did,
it. We did,
and
and I did look.
I explicitly said I wouldn't be able to do this.
I'm sure you can.
Lucy, as you've sprung the question, why don't you tell us yours?
Well, I need to find the name of it. I'm so ill prepared. It's that Lervig one. that Lervig one. It's the Lervig. It's an imperial stout, imperial milk stout. That is somewhere on my Untapped.
Oh man,
Just-
I got nothing. I literally.
It's called
have nothing.
Sipping into Darkness.
Oh yes,
Oh, I know that beer. That's
I've had that. Yep.
You two had that. Is it Bottles Books?
Yes.
Yeah, I
yes.
think so. Yeah.
12%. I had it at the Mosley Craft Beer.
Let's just all agree that the 12% beer was.
I agree because it was generally the best beer that I've had.
No,
this
it
I mean,
It was
it's like-
on that night, I had a beer from Brut IPA, which was
Yes.
like a caramel fudge stout, which was absolutely fantastic. Which I think just picked it. But I'm currently looking at Untapped and 5-star rated.
How do you find your 5-star rating?
I'm just scrolling through, mate, until I find
Oh,
5
right.
stars. It tells me I've got 19 beers that I've rated at 5 stars. Obviously, not necessarily from this year, but one I have found from 2018 that I rated at 5 stars. I think I must have had this on the East Bristol Brewery Trail day that I went on.
Yeah.
Is the Quercus Alba from Good Chemistry Brewing, which is the extra strong bitter.
Oh, that's a very good beer. I've had.
I don't know whether it's this Quercus Alba. I don't know whether I've miscorrectly put it on Untapped, but Good Chemistry did have an extra strong bitter on the East Bristol Brewery Trail,
Yeah.
and it was my favourite beer of that day. It's a beer that I still think about every time I see a tweet from Good Chemistry and they say extra special bitter. I'm like, oh, is it this one? Maybe, because
Yeah.
it was a really good beer, and it's one that has stuck with me since
Right.
when was it the East Bristol Brewery Trail? Was it late August? I think it was the last
Yeah, I was
weekend
gonna
in
say,
August.
like-
August bank holiday, so
Yeah.
it's definitely stuck with me since then. And I think it pushed everything else that I'd had kind of to the side slightly. So I think that for me is the best beer this year.
I don't track things on Untapped, and so I have no record, and I'm useless at remembering things. So I'm going to say I liked a lot of beers this year.
I mean,
Good year for beers.
But I
That's-
will transition to I have an opinion on the 3 beers I have today.
Yes. Okay.
Because I recognize I've given no opinion outside that. I had the Indian Pale Lager Side Control from Marble, the Stillwater Artisanal from Cloudwater and Stillwater Sour Pilsner, and the Belgian IPA from... Why have I forgotten you?
Magic Rock.
Magic Rock and the Brasserie de la Senne. And I'm gonna say that quite surprising actually to me, is the sour pilsner from Cloudwater and Stillwater was clearly the winner to me.
Okay.
I thought maybe
Yeah.
the Belgian Zenne-Like or Zenne-Like, if you prefer, would have trounced it, but like,
Yeah.
this was a really excellent beer. The pilsner sort of core was still there. The sour was there. It had a lot of nuance to it. It was very, very interesting beer that was also very easy to drink. While like the Zenne-Like, I feel like it was trying to do things, and those things were at cross purposes to itself.
Yeah.
While what the Stillwater Artisanal was doing was unique, but also it was like, hey, I'm doing this, and it did it really freely.
Yeah.
And like, I've never had a sour pilsner before, but it was clearly still a pilsner and still sour, and not, and like, usually sour means a very strong sort of taste, and this was like, I'm doing that sourness in a limited sense, but it makes sense because I'm a pilsner, and that all worked well.
Nice. I think that's it's exactly almost how I feel about the best beer this tonight for me as well, which is the Malt. It's the Brut IPA, which was the Northern Monk and the Whiplash.
The
beer.
first one, right?
The first one, yeah. That it was doing what it wanted to do very well, and the rest of the beers kind of didn't quite get that that merger of the styles. The triple was nice, sour not so much, but the kind of the triple, it did enough. But I think that the Brut IPA kind of showcased that style really well. The flavors were nice. It had a really dry finish, really quick, and you wanted to reach back for that beer. Lucy, having had all the same as me tonight, how did you feel?
I'm fully in agreement with you. The sour was never going to win for me, but between the Triple IPA, I was like, I've had better Triple IPAs, to be honest. I don't know what I would have expected from that beer. I was probably expecting something like a classical, like Cloudwater kind of smooth, juicy, dank. This was dank in terms of its flavour, but bit too sweet for me. But you couldn't tell it was 90%, and it did go down fairly easily. But I think I absolutely agree with you, Ben. Like, the Brut IPA, it set out what it wanted to do, and I really thought that, like, kind of nutty, and you described it as earthy and kind of piney sensation just right before finish. It was like quite novel, and I actually liked it. Tasted a bit like hazelnuts for me, so that was interesting. I think it was balanced well for like a bit of lemony. It took you on a journey.
It did,
like,
definitely.
Nice.
Just
Excellent.
like lemony at the start slightly, then you go into that kind of nutty, piney earthiness, and then just that very quick finish, which was just very refreshing for me, but just finish straight away, which is what a Brut IPA should do and sets out to do. So I think in terms of like overall accomplishment, I think Brut IPA did it best.
Yeah. Nice.
Excellent.
Good.
Oh, and Bearded Lady, Magic Rock beer.
Ooh.
The stout is joint my top beers of the year.
Nice.
Polluting our...
I seem to remember, did they have that on at Bristol Beer Festival, but they'd ran out?
I think they did. I think they ran out.
Yeah. That's the case.
For a good reason, because that's a very good, very, very good
one that I
Imperial
haven't
stout.
had, and one that as soon as we saw that it was there, it was like, oh, let's go and have this. No, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
They've gone.
Seek it out if you can. It's brilliant.
Yes. Yeah, excellent.
So, listener, if you would like to talk to us about your favourite beers or your favourite games from 2018, you can do so in lots of different ways. You can go to @tankedup_cast to chat to all of us over on Twitter, or tankedupcast@gmail.com. I am at Nova_47 on Twitter and PSN and Steam. Aadil is at the Omniarch. almost everywhere except for Twitch, where there's an underscore in there somewhere. You can guess where it is. Lucy has recently changed.
Yes.
She's no longer Tanked Up Lucy. She is Juicy Loose 9
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Except
Everywhere.
Switch, where you're SW.
Oh,
man.
except Switch. What the fuck is
Doesn't matter.
Nintendo doing? Just fucking sort
I
it out.
never know.
So, is your Twitter Juicy Loose or is it Juicy Loose?
Juicy Loose 9, because I changed it and it was like, oh, someone already has. Damn it.
Okay,
Juicy
yeah.
Loose. I was like, Juicy Loose 99. I was like, oh no, people think I was born in 1999 and people
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
you didn't play Super Metroid, you were -5 years old. And I was like, okay, I'll change it to Juicy Loose 90, which is when I was actually born. But Juicy Loose 9 was baby.
Yeah. I knew that was a thing. I thought I meant.
You can go to outoflives.net and look at all of the other articles, listen to lots of other podcasts, and chat to us over there. Or go to our Facebook page. Aadil recently stuck up a post on the Tanked Up Facebook group to say, hey, there's lots of people looking at this. Why are you looking at it? Go to outoflives.net because we don't post anything here anymore.
Because it's literally been almost an exact year since the last post on the Tanked Up Facebook page. Maybe just look at the Out of Lives Facebook page where we make our posts.
Yeah, maybe
Would
we
I
should
be
just plug
18 if I was born in 99 yet?
Yes.
Because I always get ID'd.
Yes.
When
No, I
I'm
know that
buying
because
alcohol at
when in
supermarket.
99 now is the year.
My students.
No, it's
were
not.
born in-
2000. In the year 2000,
Yeah.
you can be
You be 18
and of
Jeez.
legal drinking age. It's 2018.
Yeah, I always get
So what I'm
ID'd
saying
like
is-
people
born
who are
on
younger
the
than me.
20th of December,
I
you would
am-
be 18 today.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is.
So why do I
am
get
teaching
ID'd?
kids who are born in the year 2000.
Youthful looks.
That's
And
definitely
it's weird
not.
because
Not
I'm
drinking
ancient.
enough, mate.
But it's
Why
like
do
people
I
who are
never
younger
get
than me.
ID'd? I think
It's
that's
people
the
who are
question.
younger than me.
Why do
It's
I
like-
never get ID'd?
It's like I was
So the
drinking
real-
before you were born. They would say ID.
Yeah,
I was drinking Bacardi Breezes before you were born, child.
Reefs. Yep.
So,
WKDs, all of them.
Sorry, you were teaching, Aadil?
And don't even worry about it. The students I'm teaching are all year 2000 kids. That's all I was gonna say.
Really?
Yeah, of course. They're first years.
Oh my god.
So, we'll
I
pick
just-
that up
you see,
next
the hand
year.
of death was just
Yeah,
grabbing me on my
yeah, it's fine. If
We'll
you
pick that up
want
next year.
if you want to hook up with Lucy or I on Switch, you will have to engage us on the other mediums because Switch is so stupid.
send a pigeon.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, we've been tanked up and we played games this year.
We did, and we
It's
drank.
been a good year.
Yeah.
It's been excellent. Have an excellent year. Bye.
Also, this was my best beer. Hey, yeah, it was this one.
Yeah, still water.
Happy Christmas and
It's
stuff.
is it Stillwater and Cloudwater?
Yeah, it is.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
all the waters.
Yes.
Water in the beer.
Because
They're
Stillwater
named waters.
aren't they from America?
Pete
Yeah, they're
Waterman.
from New York.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the waters.